allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if we could remain standing for a brief moment of silence in memory of Senate President Ruggiero, who passed away today. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Councilor Comito.
Present.
Councilor Burke.
Present.
Councilor Janik.
Present.
Councilor DiMederos.
Present.
Councilor Edwards.
Present.
Councilor Paul.
Present.
Councilor Perry. All present.
Thank you. All right, consent agenda, approval of town council minutes, March 24th, 2025, regular and executive session. Councilor Burke abstains, absent, not present. We have acknowledge of receipt of minutes from boards, commissions, and committees. Historical Cemeteries Commission 2, Litter Control 1, Economic Development 1, Budget Committee 8, Conservation Commission 2. Acknowledge receipts of reports. Treasurer Surratt, Budget and Revenue Reports, March 2025. School Department Year-to-Date Budget versus Actual Reports, March 2025. Town Administrator Department's monthly reports, March 2025. Town Administrator Police and Fire Department Overtime Reports, March 2025. Hoffman Engineering, 2025. Environmental Land Use Restrictions, Annual Inspection Report. Hoffman Engineering, 2025. ELUR, Annual Environmental Land Usage Restrictions. Acknowledge receipt of correspondence. Town of Hopkinton, resolution in support of restoration of general revenue sharing to cities and towns. Town of Hopkinton, resolution in opposition to Rhode Island 2025 gun control legislation. Town of Narragansett, resolution in support of S57 and H5393 regarding maintenance of sidewalks. Town of Burrillville, resolution in support of H5634 and S0114, defending affordable prescription drug costs Act. Approval of tax assessor abatements, $318.24. DPW Director Rogers requests approval to extend FY25 bid awards through FY26 as allowed per bid specifications for line painting, road materials 2, crack sealing, and paving. Director Rogers requests approval of funds to advertise bids for the following supplies: PVC and HDPE pipe, concrete block catch basin structures, catch basin frames and grates, unleaded gasoline, clear, ultra sulfur diesel fuel, septic tank pumping, on-site wastewater treatment system inspections. Cemetery Commission / Bob Sodoma requests to renew contract for Pecasset Hill Cemetery mowing and maintenance and cemetery operations to Jared Ramuno, DBA Ramuno's Landscaping, exercise of first one-year extension. Would any councilors like to remove any items from the consent agenda? Councilor Janik.
C6, please.
Councilor.
I also had C6.
Okay, Councilor Burke.
C5 and D3.
D3.
Yes.
Any other councilors to my left? No?
I was 5 and 6 as well. But
All right. Motion to, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda minus C5, 6, and D3.
so moved.
Second.
Motion made, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right. We'll go start with C5, Councilor Burke.
Yeah, C5, simply, this is the engineering report for the playground off Bay Street. I know that the Recreation Commission has an interest in finding out what can be done with that, so if there's a possibility of looking into that further to see what can be done to recreate something there, that'd be great.
Okay. Councilor Janik, C6.
C6 is the study that they did on the roads in the Bay Street area, and they did find that there was slight erosion along the berm on Canonicus Street. And my question is, has that automatically gone to DPW, or does that go to the state, or who takes care of that, the need to have that repaired?
It's my understanding it would be us. So I'll speak with the DPW director, and if it's not fixed, it will be fixed.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. D3, Councilor Burke.
I just think this is a really good resolution for us to consider and perhaps have the solicitor put one together for us. So this resolution, for folks to know, it's in support of a couple of bills, Senate 57 and House 5393, that would require the state to maintain sidewalks if they're on a state road, as opposed to requiring the municipality to do that.
Wonderful. Perhaps, Solicitor? Good. All right, do I have a motion to approve C5, 6, and D3? Oh, sorry, Councilor
I
Comito.
also had C6.
Oh, my apologies.
That's okay. But I think the administrator's all over it, and he's gonna take care of the situation, but thank you.
Thank you. My apologies, Councilor Comito.
Motion to accept C5, C6, and C3.
D3.
D3,
Yep.
sorry.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay, public comments. We do have a couple signed up. Mr. Tavares, Travers, are you, Tavares? Travers. You wrote it kind of silly. It's okay. Dr. Scratch, do you want to wait until the item comes up on the public comment? That's fine. Okay, thank you. Next would be Jeff LaChapelle on item 8P. Perfect. All right, next up we have Jamie French for items 8E and 8P. Miss French.
Because HC is gonna help open discussion at that time.
If John allows it.
Then we'll close.
I mean, if you'd like to hang out and wait till the end of the agenda to bring it up, by all means, but I don't feel the need to have you hang out here all night if you want to say your piece first.
Okay.
Just name and address for the record, please.
Jamie French, Craig Avenue. I have, 8E is the new resolution 2025-0017. When I read that, it ups the by right residential units that you can build with a comprehensive permit up to 500 units for one development. It seems as if it targets North Tiverton because it states that you can't build these in Nonquit watershed, and you can't build it anywhere where there's hydric soils, and hydric soils are everywhere in town. But it says that if you have the possibility of water or sewer, then it's basically a by right development. And I think 500 units is a little on the steep side for Tiverton, especially trying to shove it into, what are we doing? Are we gonna be tearing down single-family homes so we can build 500 units? Because obviously we don't have a lot of room for that right now. 8F, where the town council policy to allow town councilors to add items to the meeting agenda, I think is perfect, because I thought this was supposedly a democracy and everyone has a right to place items on the agenda. I think also if the public wishes to have an item on the agenda and fills out the proper form and passes it in at the proper timeline, that it shouldn't be rejected, that the public has a right, as any other town councilor has a right, to put anything on the agenda to come up for public discussion. I also am concerned about 8K, because I think changing the zoning so that we can have a construction and demolition processing facility
I know.
Adjacent to Stafford Pond and Ranger School and neighborhoods is a poor idea. It doesn't talk anything about the hours. There's no question about dust control. I have concerns about wetlands. I have concerns about the prevailing winds blowing dust and debris.
Jamie, I
into
think this is
Stafford
just,
Pond.
a vote to send it to planning.
Well,
So all that stuff that will be addressed at planning, so that would be the meeting to bring all that up at.
Well, I question why we're even changing zoning. So if someone says, oh, will you change zoning so I can do this? I mean, it's like, okay, we'll just do it, you know? And anyway, I have a concern about it. And as for 8P, which is the predetermined water reorganization or merger committee, any committee that is formed that has a predetermined outcome isn't really a committee. It's sort of a fake committee. And it says right in the,
Where are you
The-
reading that?
it's predetermined. It says that they will gather information related to the future reorganization or merger. It doesn't say possible, or it doesn't say, well, let's talk about water, or let's talk to the district. It says that we're going to gather information for the merger, which is a predetermined, it's predetermined already. And once it's predetermined, why waste people's time if you're already going to predetermine
Ms. French,
the
if I could
outcome
just,
of a meeting?
if I could just comment on that real quick. I don't think anything's being predetermined
Well, it
by
says-
anybody.
it
and-
says it
and
right
I-
in it.
And I think you're hanging a little,
No,
you're
it
hanging
says-
your hat on specific words, and I think,
Yes, the specific word say
Yes.
is to gather information for the water merger.
Or.
It doesn't
or
say,
reorganization.
Or reorganization.
Reorganization could potentially involve, redistricting. I mean, that's a good example. So
But
the
maybe-
bottom line is this.
it's one or the other. What if we don't want to redistrict the merger? What if maybe we just had a committee that talked about water? Or-
Jamie,
or the
I think
future.
that's what this is intended to do, to
But
bring
it doesn't
all.
say that. It says that it's going to be to gather information about a reorganization or a merger. It doesn't say
Thank you, Ms. French.
possible. It doesn't, thank you.
I do want to say one thing, Jamie. I think you read this resolution wrong. It says if an aggregate of 500 or more units should be proposed in a comprehensive permit, the project to enact an emergency moratorium.
Right,
So
but
it will stop the development until we decide whether they have the water capability, the sewage capability. This is not what we can do now.
But it says
And
aggregate
it's,
of over 500.
and it says an aggregate, meaning if you have a 278 unit project and then a 248 unit project, you're over 500, therefore the moratorium would
Right,
kick in,
right.
and you wouldn't get another 300 unit project behind it. It would
Right.
essentially end all of the comprehensive permits for a period while those two projects are assessed.
This is helpful, Jamie. This is not a bad thing. This is helpful.
Well, it should also include hydric soils in North Tiverton. It should, it's just that it spotlights North Tiverton because
With-
it says that you can't
Miss
do it
French?
in Nonquit, and you can't do it where there's hydric soils, but you can do it where there's possibly
Miss
water or
Miss
sewer.
French, we have a very lengthy agenda.
I know there's a
So-
very lengthy agenda, and I didn't put it together that way. There's
Yeah, nor
many,
did I. I
items
was
on
not
the
here.
agenda. Thank
But-
you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gross, also on fishing access, are you okay holding until we get to the public comment? Which,
Is this an open forum?
it will be an open public comment forum, or public hearing, yes.
Other issues?
What other issues?
If you'd like to speak about anything else other than the fishing piece, I would just
Very good.
say that you will have an opportunity when we get to the next item, which
Yeah,
is
the
the
fishing,
fishing
I'll
piece.
stick with the fishing. Jeff Gross, some of you may remember me, I'm an old Tiverton resident. I'm here before you tonight, I was given word today that allegedly a Rhode Island House Judiciary member is going to be sued for having a Second Amendment person removed from the hearings for her testimony that he found offensive. Now, I'm bringing this up because I was here 2 years ago when Secundit River Outfitters went for their permit renewal. And there was an outburst by a member of this body. It has never sat well with me. And after this lawsuit and some other lawsuits going against politicians, not only in Rhode Island, but other states on the eastern seaboard, I hope people in the legislative bodies remember that you work for us, we the people, not vice versa. The individual that was removed was extremely respectful, did not raise her voice. The lawsuit is pending, but hopefully everybody learns from this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda is public hearings that were advertised. So the first is approval of the proposed amendments to the Tiverton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Finance, Division 5, Department of Public Works, Road and Bridge Restricted Account, This ordinance would require that any state reimbursements received by the town's participation in Rhode Restore Municipal Grant Program or Municipal Road and Bridge Revolving Loan Fund be placed in the paving and drainage restricted account. Would any member, I'd like to open up the public hearing. Would any member of the public like to speak on this proposed ordinance? Any member of the public? Last time, any member of the public like to speak on this? All right, I would like to close the public hearing. Do we have any discussion or motions from the council? All right, with that, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the amendments to the Tiverton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Finance, Division 5, Department of Public Works, Road and Bridge Restricted Account.
So moved.
Motion been made, seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Councilor DiMederos, are you opposed?
Oh, yes.
I didn't think you would be. Okay. Next public hearing is approval of the proposed amendments to the Tiverton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 78, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 3, Stopping, Standing, and Parking. The proposed new ordinance would prohibit beach parking at any town beach from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. at all times, with the exception of those engaged in fishing activities at Fogland Beach from 10 to 7, and further prohibits fishing within 100 feet of the Fogland boat ramp. This ordinance also establishes the regulation of vehicle beach parking at Grinnell's and Fogland beaches and requires parking fees or passes from May 1st to October 1st and provides for the enforcement of parking restrictions, including recreational vehicles at Fogland Beach. It further authorizes an electronic or web-based application to enforce parking restrictions and permits. I'd like to open up the public hearing. Mr. Travers, assuming you'd like to speak on this one.
Sure, thank you. Scott Travers from Coventry, Rhode Island. I'm the Executive Director for the Rhode Island Saltwater Anglers Association. Excuse me. I understand that the intent of this ordinance and these amendments are not to limit fishing or fishing access, and that they are to establish areas by signage for all to enjoy the water safely. And I also understand that the town administrator, along with representatives of Tiverton, along with administrative members of the Rhode Island Saltwater Anglers Association, will work together to site locations for those signs in those areas. Also, the Saltwater Anglers Association enjoys a partnership with many communities in the state of Rhode Island where we maintain and help guarantee fishing and fishing access areas within different communities. We're also proposing with the town of Tiverton to create a relationship to maintain fishing and maintain the cleanliness and access to the fishing pier area around Stonebridge.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
What does that mean? If you could just kind of explain, if we get into this partnership, which I hope we
Yes.
will, and I'm
Yep.
confident that we will, what would your organization do for the fishing areas in Tiverton?
Gotcha. So we would erect signage just making people aware that the Rhode Island Saltwater Anglers Association is involved in maintaining that area, along with regular cleanups of those areas from fishermen, from the community, who are also Tiverton residents as well as residents of surrounding areas. We currently have approximately 1,500 members of our organization who fish everywhere regionally.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Can
you.
I ask a question?
Councilor Janik.
I do remember last time when you were here, and there were a number of people who spoke. They did talk about, as different parts of the season commence, that there are different types of fish that are, so you want to be at this area to fish this type of fish, and would you be moving those signs in accordance to the type of fish and the part of the season we're in? Or would you just recommend this as a,
We don't fish.
yeah, you can tell we don't fish.
No, that's okay. That's okay, right? Yeah. Guys, I'm here to help. Right,
So
so.
you said you wanted to help.
Right, yes, absolutely, yeah. So we would have a sign there that would say that this area is maintained by the Saltwater Anglers Association, working with the town of Tiverton. That way people would know that that is a fishing area. But you are correct. There are different times of the year where you would be targeting different species of fish. But signs in those areas would not necessarily change on the season depending on which fish is there. But I would invite everyone to join the Saltwater Anglers Association for further information.
Small fee,
Really?
Yeah, we'll go fishing. okay.
Sure,
Thank you.
thank you.
We have a technical, two technical amendments when you get a chance.
Okay. Mr. Gross, would you like to speak on this?
Yeah, one quick thing. Last year it came up, and this is only for clarification. came up that the solicitor, I don't believe it was this gentleman, it might have been somebody else, stated that the,
Was it that gentleman behind you?
Yeah, was it that one over there?
don't know.
He's our backup.
In any case, the statement was made that federal land doesn't start, federal waterways do not start until one's up to their knees or something to that effect. I contacted NOAA, I contacted the EPA. Federal land, federal property for all saltwater, fishing, et cetera, starts at the mean high tide mark, not the debated 10-foot beyond that level, but at the mean high tide mark of any saltwater area. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, would any members of the public like to speak on this ordinance? Ms. French is coming up.
I am correct in that we're talking specifically about parking regulations here, right?
Correct.
Okay, so it seems to me that we should be discussing C before we discuss B, because C is discussing where and when we can, where and when we can fish, whereas B is about parking. And we can't talk about parking, I would say that we shouldn't talk about parking until we talk about where and when we can fish. And so it seems to me backwards, but, I mean, if, without, parking should be, for fishing, should be at Grinnell's as well as Fogland all night long, because the fishing pier is a fishing pier, and fishing is occurring at night. And fishing happens all year round, and not so much in the winter, but it still happens, like yesterday, which is kind of goes into sea, but according to the sign, yesterday was an illegal fishing day, yet there were about 30 people fishing, because the sign says you can't fish until May 1st at Grinnell's. And we're not in May yet. And so so anyway, I think that parking should relate to where and when we could fish. And if you allow, and if people currently fish all night long, but they have to, like, it's kind of sneaky. You have to move your car and arrange to have your car and someone's over there or over there, and then you can sneak back and you can fish because no one goes and checks. And it's like, why are we making people, like, sneak around and not be able to just park there? I mean, you should be able to park in the parking lot because you should. I mean, that's where, you know, if people use an area correctly, if you want an area, if you take away the good people who are using it, then who knows what will happen in the area, you know? Because there won't be, if the fishermen aren't there, then who knows who'll be down there doing what.
And just
so,
as a point of clarification, Ms. French, the reason why it's from May to October is because that's when our parking ordinance takes effect. So there is no parking pass required for that beach.
it says right on
In the
the sign,
off-season.
fishing permitted May 1st to
In designated
October
fishing
1st.
area.
That's what the sign says. That is the only sign at Grinnell's, and that is what it says. That fishing is permitted here from May 1st to October 1st. It doesn't talk about parking, it talks about fishing is only permitted during those months. Now, that comes up on C. I'm just saying that B shouldn't be considered until C is discussed, because C discusses time and location, and time and location have a lot to do with parking. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public like to speak on this item?
I'd just like to say a few words about limiting fishing and being a 30-year resident of Tiverton.
Just name and address.
Sure, Robert Jobin on Stafford Road. Getting older, we're more limited as to what we can do. Now, there may be a sign there that says you can't fish from May 1st till whatever day, But if you enjoy fishing, you should have access to the shore, okay? I believe that's in the Rhode Island Constitution, if anybody would like to pull it out. Up until a high tide, mean high tide, people are allowed to walk whatever part of the ocean, being part of the ocean state. You can clam, you can fish, you can gather seaweed right in the Rhode Island Constitution. So before you start putting restrictions on the residents of Tiverton and residents of other places, you really should take a look at the Constitution.
Mr. President,
Counselor.
can we put this to rest? There is zero restricting of fishing going on. The last ordinance version, as Mr. Gross can attest to, and Mr. Travers, specifically stated, no fishing on the abutment, no fishing on the rocks. That's been taken out. Nothing else has been changed, period.
Right.
This is a parking ordinance, this is not a fishing ordinance.
But you're affecting the fishing because it's a public right-of-way as far as
But we
I
don't
know.
have to leave parking open all the time.
Right.
There's nothing that requires that.
But doesn't the Constitution
No,
play into this?
it doesn't require us to leave parking open all the time.
Well, isn't that relatively restrictive? I can only state from other states that I've been to, Florida, wide open parking along the
A
roads.
lot warmer, too.
Rhode Island does not.
I was just there.
I
I can attest.
I will add as well, Grinnell's Beach, there was no vehicle parking, period, prior to this ordinance, overnight. And it's now being allowed 10 PM to 7 AM, actively engaged in fishing. So that was something that was feedback from the last meeting we had, and we put it in there.
7 PM
I-
at night to 7
I
AM.
do have a
10
question
to
about
7
that,
a.m.
David.
For fishing overnight.
Yeah.
David, if you look at this, though, it says only Fogland.
Yeah, that's Fogland.
That's only fine, because Fogland was no parking overnight before.
But Grinnell's
Now
is
active
still.
fishing.
Okay.
And the reason for Grinnell's is we have to have members of the, well, I point to you, even though you're a former member of the police. Yes, somebody locks the gate, so the gate gets locked at 10 PM, it gets opened at 7 AM,
Right.
so.
Okay.
But again, you're restricting access to the shore in the ocean state at
Well,
this
you
point.
I think we're restricting vehicle access,
Yeah.
not
Not fishing.
people
Well, the
access.
problem is you can't park on the road, as far as I know.
But they
or
park
can
outside
you?
the gate, because
Yeah.
there's parking outside the gate.
Okay.
Or they park where they shouldn't, on private property,
But I
and then
think
walk across the
yeah.
street.
I think the general view is that you're restricting a constitutionally protected right. I mean, if they're gonna go in and grab seaweed out of any of the beaches, you need to back your truck up fairly closely, or they're gonna be with wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow going up to, you know. So there's some things to look at, is my point here, and just, it seems like there's a general tone that we really don't want access to our shore unless you are restricted in this regard.
That's also not a change either. Grinnell's Beach is closed for years.
No change.
At 10 PM,
Correct,
long before the abutment was even rebuilt.
correct.
Yeah, the only addendum here, and this is, I guess, technically bleeding into item C, is
Yes, it is.
between May and October, you can fish in the designated areas, which we're gonna work with the Rhode Island Saltwater Anglers Association to have that, such that if a young family goes to the beach at 8 AM, somebody's not gonna step on a fish hook in the swimming area.
And that's all that is.
Which, and again, I think the Rhode Island Saltwater Anglers Association would agree that if you have an area for kids to go to the beach, you know, we wouldn't want to have them stepping on fish hooks or whatever the case may be in that case.
But again, you don't want to take someone else's rights away. If they're wading into the water, you can't stop them.
We're not taking anybody's rights away.
Well, you are if you're eliminating someone from fishing
We're
in the
not
water
eliminating
and they're
fishing.
wading.
We're eliminating parking.
Well, I think that's,
Well, it would be far different if you're wading in the water,
line.
sir.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. But again, you bring up safety.
Yeah.
And,
But sir, you're looking at it the other way too. You're taking someone else's rights away from going swimming if you want to fish. in that
I don't think
area.
you're taking them away. You're
Well,
allowing
you
them
can't
to
swim and
do
fish in the
whatever
same
they
area.
want to
You
do.
can't be swimming and fishing in the same area.
Who says?
Oh,
I mean, it depends what type of fishing you're talking about. If someone's fly rodding, yeah, it may be an issue. If someone's soaking some menhaden out there, 100 yards offshore, there's no issue. And I think it's very close to infringing upon someone's constitutional right in this state. And that's what I have. That's my point. Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Travers.
I will do my best to make this brief. And again, just looking at this, just so we're all on the same page here, this talks about regulating parking between May 1 and October 1st, correct?
Correct.
So therefore, outside of that season, parking would not be as regulated, correct? So it wouldn't be completely prohibited, it's just not regulated at that time. Okay,
With a
so,
parking pass. With a
right.
Yeah, with a parking pass.
Right, because of the seasonality of, New England life and living in Rhode Island, right?
It's no different
Yeah.
than Lawton Ave right here, where there's sticker parking for the summertime to
Right.
prevent people from parking all over people's,
Right,
front
exactly.
yards. Yeah.
Exactly, and I think in the broader scope of things, right, there are more people now than there were traditionally in the town of Tiverton and in the state of Rhode Island. And I think what we're looking for here is just some equity so that everyone has access to the waterfront, correct?
Correct.
We're not looking to take away from anyone, we're looking to just make sure that everyone enjoys this multi-use and multi-resource area together, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very
But
much.
we still lock the gates every night, even in the off-season.
But that's been going on for
No,
decades.
no, I
Yes.
want to make that clear.
Right, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But we're not restricting anyone from accessing the beach
Right.
on foot or
Right.
to fish.
Right.
Right, correct.
I think the other clarification that needs to be made here, no, you're all set, Mr. Travers.
No, I have a question
The
for
May
him.
1st to October 1st, this is also, a large portion of this ordinance is because Recreation did not have a mechanism to enforce the beach parking during the day. So, Mass resident could pull in, a Hawaii resident could pull in, I don't have the money, I'm not paying, and go park. And they said, okay, have a nice day. There's nothing they could do. So that, actually, this ordinance allows for those rules to be enforced. Prior to that, there was no enforcement, so. That's why it says May 1st to October 1st, because that's the traditional beach, no dogs on the beach timeframe.
Councilor Burke.
Question for Mr. Travers. And I'm going to do what I shouldn't do is ask a question that I don't know the answer to, but that's okay.
Beware.
In any of the state beaches, say on the other side of the big ones, is there fishing allowed?
So I have been told from a credible source that in reaching out to the state, DEM, trying to find an answer on that,
Okay.
no one is willing to weigh in on that and give that us an
Okay, so
answer.
let me ask you, are there public beaches in Rhode Island that have parking lots where fishing is allowed, that you are aware of?
Yes, there are.
Okay. And are those parking lots generally closed? So I'm thinking first or second beach. I assume that somewhere along there you can fish.
Correct.
You can park when the parking lot's open. But the parking lot's closed much of the year, or at least during the day.
At
during
certain
the
times,
evening.
yes.
So it's no different than what those do.
Correct.
Those parking lots do. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Excellent question. Any other members of the public like to
He didn't
speak on
answer.
this ordinance? This is B, yes. Any other members of the public? Any other members of the public? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. Mr. Solicitor.
I just have a couple of technical amendments. Under item B, there's a typo. It says THERS, it should be theirs, their shall.
Say B or D?
B.
So it's A, yeah, B. On
7886B,
There, yeah.
that one. And then on the last sentence, it says, shall be permitted within, now it says within 100 feet of the boat ramp. And then if you go to the penalty provision, the 78-86A, B, and it says B1, B1 should be stricken because that was from the old ordinance. And then there's just a, the fine is set at $50, but the words say 35, so that needs to be changed to 50.
Is it 50?
Yeah.
Because the second, oh, okay.
And then item B, the first sentence, recreational vehicles found to be in violation of subsection D, actually should be subsection E.
Okay, any discussion from the council? Councilor Burke.
Thank you, and I caught at least the 35. So question on B, in the top section, about the distance from the ramp. This could be read, so I'm going to read it the way I quickly read it, that I'm only limited during those hours specified from not fishing within 100 feet. But outside of those hours, I can fish right next to the boat ramp. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
I was
okay.
gonna say, I believe that is accurate,
Okay.
because there's some property owners over there that in the evening hours, they had some issues with people being loud.
Okay.
But otherwise, it doesn't restrict.
Okay. Oh, I'm thinking of is this the old boat ramp towards?
Where if you're going down the road and you would drive, if you
Oh,
kept
drive
going
straight in,
you
it's that
just-
one,
you
okay,
wind
never
up in the
mind,
water.
never mind. Okay, and that's it?
Counselor Camino.
Yeah, so I kind of feel that we are restricting the parking a little too much. I think if we have it open from 10 to 7 a.m. at Fogland, I think we should be doing the same at Grinnell's. Grinnell's. I would like to maybe try it for this year, for this period, to see how bad it gets with the fishing down there at night. I think they should have access to drive and park. Or we do just for Grinnell's, I guess, because that's the only one that's being restricted, some type of permit for fishing and parking, so we can have control of, hold people accountable. If we have their plate numbers, if we have electronic enforcement, we can track who's leaving a mess. So I kind of disagree with restricting the parking down there, and I think we could try it and control it with the electronic enforcement, which is, Mr. Administrator, I'm assuming it's the cameras that are set up.
There are.
So our dispatchers would be watching this,
Well, they can review it.
It can
review,
it.
send it to or if they see something wrong, they can dispatch an officer right?
Yes.
So, I mean, we couldn't force.
The problem, as you all know, one of the impetus to this parking ordinance is there is no enforcement. Because if a police officer, the way it is today, goes down to any of our beaches and someone is parked, unless they're parked in a handicap spot, there is no ordinance, no enforcement, no mechanism for the police officer to issue a citation and tow the vehicle. So, and this was something that we were dealing with for years. So this really is the impetus of all of that. The fishing and the seasonal stuff came in as probably just to make it a whole package. But the problem has always been, and even with the recreation folks, and like the president said, when you have the seasonal gatekeepers, a vehicle would go in there and park, and if there was a problem with that vehicle, or if they didn't pay, or they got there before the gatekeeper was there, and they just decided to park on the beach. When the season was open, there is no enforcement mechanism for the police department or recreation to charge that person or to write them a citation. That is the main body of why we're doing this here tonight. The police department had no teeth to enforce anything.
Okay, that being said, I totally agree with what you're saying, but can we change it for fishing at night? Can we change this ordinance or adjust it for fishing at night?
So
I understand that people are sneaking into the beach during the day before the gates open and parking, and we have no control over it. But I think we can really tweak this ordinance to allow the people that fish at night. And I think the easiest way to do it, if they really want to fish there at night, come get a fishing pass. We have their plates, make them register their vehicles or whatever, and we can try to, Denise, you keep shaking your head no, but you can try to keep the beaches open for the fishermen. I understand it's an issue with trash, and my experience with that is, and it'll come from my father, he spends a lot of time under the beach, under the bridge with the fishermen, I mean on a daily basis. And he says they're actually pretty clean. So I don't know who's leaving a mess at it seems like the main concern here is Grinnell's Beach. So I don't know who's leaving a mess, but if that's our only concern, I think we can enforce it a little better and open it up to our residents, at least people to fish and open the oceans, like the people that said here before. It's the ocean. You're smirking, but it's what.
Counselor DiMederos.
It's a big part of our town.
I was shaking my head because that wasn't the reason why we closed the gates originally. It was because of other activity, right, that happened there.
I've been in Tiverton for 35 years on the fire department, and we've been closing that gate as long as I can remember.
Right, and it was
Just because we did it in the past doesn't mean that things can't change and we can move forward and try something different. That's all I'm asking for.
It wasn't because of the fishermen we locked it, though. It was because of the other things that were going on down there. The bonfires that almost burnt down the outhouses, and things like
Grinnell's
that.
Beach?
Yeah, yeah. So it wasn't the fishermen, it was the other activity that was going on. Kids down there drinking, getting in trouble, swimming, might be drowning, that kind of stuff. We were worried about that. It wasn't the fishermen. And that was one of the reasons why the gates been closed forever.
So you're just making my case, you're making my case for me, right? You're saying it's not the fishermen.
Yep.
Right.
But we're gonna restrict, the first person we're gonna restrict is the fishermen.
Well, I think you're right. I think you're right about getting passes for the fishermen to fish. But I don't know if everyone will do that.
So,
If I may, Mr. President.
yes.
So the solicitor and I were just having a conversation. If you want to add it, and I'll let the solicitor weigh in on this, that's fine. No disrespect to Councilor Comito, but just to keep it clean for the police department, we can't have a trial period. We need to either put it in the ordinance or not put it in the ordinance.
The parking from 10A to 7A?
Correct. So it needs to be clear on what the will of the council is as far as the ordinance goes, so the police department has a clear understanding of what they can enforce.
And let me just ask, does the police department have the ability to enforce it? I know, everybody thinks we're a quiet little town, but I don't want it to be their priority, have to go down every night and check on the beach and whatever, but will it become a problem?
We do. I mean, we do it now during the season, we do it more so. And that was one of the other reasons for having the gate at Grinnell's. It just prevented the parking beyond the beach towards the shoreline, but it didn't ever restrict access. People could walk on the beach, people could set up a blanket, people could go fishing. It was all about vehicles. Fogland, as you know, has no gate and has no restrictions. So people do go there. But that was, as Councilor DiBendiris said, it was Fogland Beach, where people were breaking up the picnic tables and lighting them on fire. So that was definitely an issue.
Mr. Solicitor, you
So
had
again,
something?
we lock the beach, where the problems are at the other beach, we're locking Grinnell's Beach.
But we're not, with the parking, because we can't, because of obviously,
So how many spaces do we have outside the gate?
There's maybe one or two, and actually, just to weigh in on
Can
Councilor
we
Comito's
designate those?
position.
Can we designate those spots for nighttime fishing?
Well, and this
Start
is,
there.
and this is actually one of the complaints that I've received from one of the local businesses, is that they come in to open in an area where it's 30-minute parking, and there's no parking for their customers to come in between 6 and 7 a.m. So I agree that if we had a mechanism to allow parking at the beach for the overnight fishermen, that's probably a good thing, and it also solves another down the line problem that's a little bit further up the road, and it makes, enhances one of our other businesses in town. So, but Mr. Solicitor, you wanted to weigh in.
I defer, I'm happy to, if you want to propose an amendment today, you can do that, but I think you want to hear from comments from your council people first. And I can,
Everybody's got to say.
Councilor Perry?
I think we should pass this amendment as it is right now, and then come back and look at it and put some teeth into it, another amendment that gives the police department some authority to go down there and do what they have to do.
Well, I think this amendment gives them that authority already. We're just not giving anybody a place to park. That's all I'm trying to do. This ordinance is gonna give the police department teeth to go down and give a fine if you get caught or whatever. We now have an ordinance that's gonna take care of that, which I agree with 100%.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get, so maybe those spaces outside the gate, if we could put nighttime fishing, so they're not parking on the main road or across the street in somebody's parking lot, maybe that might help our situation, that's all.
So I think a sticker program is going to be so tough to manage. I don't think that's going to work.
Councilor Burke?
I thought Councilor Paul had something.
I do, because I fully support that with one minor exception. That 7 o'clock time frame on that overnight at Grinnell's puts people up against recreation parking when the beaches are open. That's gonna put the gate attendants in a tough spot, similar to Fogland, when they pull in and there's potentially 6, 7, 8, 9 cars there that they now have to either ask them to leave or pay. But that's not a bad idea at all. Otherwise, I would fully support leaving that gate open.
If the sign says 10 to 7, they know they have to get their cars out at 7, that's what the sign is gonna say, right? So if they don't get their car out, the police department goes down and enforces it and says, at 10 to 7, towed at owner's expense, something underneath the sign. I think it's a pretty simple solution to leave it open for everybody, just my suggestion.
Councilor Burke, if it's all right with you, I know we closed the public hearing, but we
I didn't see
did have
that.
somebody who would like to weigh in.
Meredith Mucci, East Road. Just a quick idea what they do in Little Compton with the fire permits is they actually have to go down and get them during the day and they pay the fee, $10, whatever it is, the same as parking, and grab a overnight parking pass. But they have to be responsible enough to get down there the day they're fishing and get it for the overnight. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Burke.
No, I'm looking at B and C together, and I'm just going to suggest that on the first section in B, we have dates of May 1st to October 1st. On the section which has the limitations, on the C, we have Columbus Day to April 30th. So I'm wondering if we should use either Columbus Day on both or October 1st on both.
That's animals.
I know.
But it makes sense, though. Standardize them.
Standardize
No,
the
that's fine. I
day.
just wanna- we're not on an ordinance yet.
I know, I was pointing out
There's a discrepancy.
the discrepancies between the two.
That's existing language.
Second piece is, I respect and want for those who fish to be able to have access. My concern is, so I don't fish, why can't I have access? If those who go down to fish have access down there at 2 o'clock in the morning, why can't I go sit in my car and watch the stars?
Totally agree with you. You should have access too.
Councilor Janik.
I do really like your idea, Councilor Comito. If we only have 2 spaces outside the gate, is that what we're saying?
Like 2 or 3 tops.
2 or 3, because we know there are more fishermen than 2 or 3 there. So we're already saying we lock those gates and we're giving them 2 to 3 spaces. Even if we designate those fishing spaces, there's gonna be another number of cars that we're pushing off in front of businesses, parking on the road, across the street in that medical complex, who are gonna open in the morning and need parking spaces. So I think if we know that we have that many people coming, why wouldn't we try to accommodate it and not push them off to something else that's gonna be another problem?
Just an idea. Direct the police department not to lock the gate. Keep the gate open during the season. Trust me, the police department will love it. So, because I know during the season, recreation opens it up and the police close it at night. So the maintenance department, opens up the gate during the season. And then once the beaches are open, and then at night, the police department around 10 o'clock, they close the gate. So, and again, this is just for your consideration. If you want to add to the parking availability and access, because Fogland is Fogland. Fogland's kind of wide open, but if you want to keep Grinnell's Beach open, just don't lock that gate during the prescribed times in the proposed ordinance.
Would we want to change the time instead of 7 AM to make it 6 AM? So that all those cars will be gone by the time the beach is open and other businesses are open?
I think,
Would that
and the
be a
rec director
problem?
is here.
Yeah, I would
You guys
like-
are 8 or 8:30.
I like his input.
Beach hours are 8, it says.
Mr. Gilfillan.
I will first offer that I don't think the Recreation Commission, I think I'll speak for all of us, have any interest in shutting down people fishing. Right? Like, I think we all agree that anything that can support that, we're totally behind it. What I will say is that I think we'd also agree that we have very little faith. Anybody who's seen dogs walking on the beach have very little faith in signs. So if whatever the town council decides from a timing standpoint to put in, what I would ask for is a understanding that our gate attendants by and large are like 16-year-old kids. And if you go into either parking lot at 7 or 8 in the morning with somebody who doesn't want to move their car, it is not that gate attendant's responsibility to get into any type of conflict with them. And so I'll be back here in a month and give an update from our beach manager as to what sort of feedback we're seeing. We have a great relationship with the police department and appreciate the support they've provided, but I will tell you, I think that's going to be an issue in that space relative to parking, just at the beginning of it. End of day, leaving the gates open. I mean, we've had times where in the past it has been open, and I don't think there's an issue there. But we've also found, we've had incidents over the last couple of years where there were drugs found in the gatehouse at Grinnell's. We've had tables burned at Fogland. I don't think this is exclusive to one beach over another. Response time based on distance to Fogland is a bigger issue, which we're aware of. But I think Recreation is standing by to support however we can. I will say that if this fee ordinance doesn't go through, it really does bind us because we have no ability to work with the police department to stop anybody from giving a double legal salute to our gate attendants and pulling on through. And we'd really like to avoid that. So I'm totally on board with the hours. I think what's more important to us is the fee structure relative to parking.
All right, so based on what I'm hearing, I think,
Sorry, can we vote on those technical amendments first, and then we'll go to the subsequent amendment?
yes.
I move approval of the technical amendments as described by the solicitor.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the technical amendments? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Councilor Committee, you're in favor of the technical amendments?
So the technical amendments are the
Typos.
fees.
The
The
typos,
typos.
yeah,
Yes, I'm in favor.
okay. All right, so
Just want to make sure that's what it was.
my take on hearing this discussion is that it's a pretty easy solution. It's instruct the police department not to lock the gate during the season, and if we simply strike the words "at Fogland Beach" from Division 1, Section 78-86, subsection B, I think we achieve what we're looking for, and perhaps we update parking fees at some point.
I think that's right, but you just have to add 100 feet of the Fogland boat ramp, because there's no boat ramp at the other beach, right?
Correct, yeah, and I would leave that in.
No, it says boat ramp, but you specify the Fogland boat ramp, because
Okay.
Fogland refers to the, if you strike Fogland earlier, then that refers
Okay.
to the same thing, so.
So we move Fogland from there to Fogland boat ramp.
Correct, yes.
And add Grinnell's Beach.
Yeah, you don't have to add it.
No, you have to add it, you just leave it there, and then at that
Beach.
point, now we have the
Anytime.
beach parking lots open. I guess technically speaking, it would prohibit Councilor Burke from staring at the stars at 1 in the morning, but at least those who are engaged in fishing would be okay. Just bring a fishing pole with you and you'll be fine.
Well, I did inherit, my wife did inherit some from her
Mr.
father.
President,
Councilor
question
Camino.
for the administrator. Didn't we hire or don't we have new, I don't want to call it beach enforcement, I don't know what the
Community
correct.
service officers.
Yes,
They'll be in front of you probably within the month to get sworn in.
okay.
And they're going to be responsible for checking the beaches until probably about 10, 11 o'clock at night, and also issuing parking enforcement.
How many of them work, is it one at a time, 2 at a time? How?
It's usually like 2 at a time they work off, but there's going to be, I believe, 5 or 6 that are going to get sworn in. They're seasonal help.
So we can make sure that hours pertain to the beach being open and they can be there and help the
Absolutely, sir.
attendants?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
But then when we have the fees, so at 8 o'clock in the morning, when we still have cars there gazing at the stars or fishing, we can enforce that they need to leave or pay.
Or
the
pay.
beach. Okay.
And if they don't have a sticker on their cars, so if they're a town resident, they're in, and they're
They're
fine.
in, right.
But if they're not a town resident, they have to either leave,
Or
pay, or they're gonna get towed and cited.
Okay. That's the only thing I'm concerned about, is them not leaving and no one can park.
You can always change the ordinance if it doesn't work out.
Okay, so, with that being said, if everybody's in agreement, I'd like to propose striking in subsection B, at Fogland Beach, and relocating Fogland Beach to Fogland Beach Boat Ramp.
Fogland boat ramp, I think that's what it's called. The clerk
Okay.
says it's called Fogland boat ramp.
Fogland Boat Ramp, perfect. So,
That's a motion?
that's a
Wait,
motion.
Second.
Can I just,
Councilor
do we
Burke.
want to address the dates?
Oh, that's in the next item that we're gonna do.
No,
Oh.
Mike wanted to.
So one is October 1st, and the other is Columbus Day.
What he wanted to do
Change
is
the next
this
one to the-
Columbus Day.
I say we change the next one in my opinion.
calendar.
October 1st.
Yeah.
I would do Columbus Day, but that's okay. That's okay. It's a minor piece.
Listen,
Let's do
I have a
it.
motion. Do I made the motion. Do I have a second?
You had a second, yeah.
Okay. All right. So motion made and second. Any discussion? No, Councilor Camino? Sorry. All right. All in favor? Okay.
Your father told me.
Look at that.
Okay. Now I'd like to entertain a motion to pass the proposed ordinance as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Okay. Laborious.
Thanks for dropping that on us, Council.
Thank you.
Okay, so next item for public hearing is approval of the proposed amendments to the Tiverton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 54, Parks and Recreation, Article 2, Recreation and Open Space Areas. This proposed ordinance will amend Section 54-32, additional rules for recreational areas. The amendments would prohibit fishing at Fogland and Grinnell's Beach, except in those areas designated by signage. The ordinances also establish fines for violations for fishing in non-designated areas. At this point in time, I'd like to open up the public hearing. Would any member of the public like to speak on item 8C?
Is it new? Is it new information?
As you said,
Just name and address for the record, please.
Jamie French, I live on Craig Avenue. As you said, it says to go by the signage, right? Well, I went to the beach yesterday, and there's one sign. And the sign says that fishing, I don't know if I have it, I don't know if I brought the right phone. Fishing is a lot, well, first it's like you have to find Waldo. Where is the sign? There's no sign on the abutment, so you can't fish on the abutment because there's no sign there, because it says you have to fish where the sign is. So once you find the sign, which is at the far end of the beach, where you finish swimming, there's a sign, a big sign, and it says fishing. Only permitted from May 1st to September 30th. And it's like, well, how about, can't you fish the rest of the time? And so it's sort of like playing Waldo, and then it's like Simon Says. What does the sign say? The sign says you can only fish during this time. Well, see, that seems to be a real problem, because there's so much info out on the internet calling the fishing pier a fishing pier. It's not an abutment, it's a fishing pier. It was the old stone bridge, it was the stone bridge, and people used to fish on it. And then when the hurricane broke down the fish, it was called the fishing pier. My father fished on it in the 1930s. Many of us fished on it. I fished on the fishing pier in 1950. I fished on it in 1960. There's article after article on tourist things on our own website that says that in recreation that you can fish at the fishing pier. It says right on our website, fishing at the fishing pier, which is adjacent to Grinnell Swim Beach. It says,
Jamie.
there was an article that someone died
Jamie.
adjacent to the fishing pier.
Jamie, may I?
Yeah.
I think the administrator and the saltwater anglers are gonna go out and look and determine, and I think it sounds like we're gonna get new signage placed where we can fish. I'm hoping some of that signage ends up on the end of the pier.
At the fishing pier.
Yes,
Well,
or whatever,
it's-
abutment, fishing pier, semantics.
It's always been a fishing pier.
Okay,
Well, for the record.
so anyway.
And money was given to us for the fishing pier. State, federal funds said it was for the fishing pier.
All right, so can we give them a chance and just, let's see where the signage goes? I'm sure the administrator will figure it out. And then I think if we have to have a further discussion about the signs, maybe we can. But let's, we're gonna improve the situation, hopefully.
Okay.
I think that's what the administrator is all about, is approving it, and bringing it back to the town and the people and the fishermen. And, I mean, we just opened the gates tonight, right? So that's a big step,
good.
right? So
That's good.
let's just give us a chance, and let's see where we go with the signage. And then I will listen to all your complaints if the signages are not
And I
correct.
would like you to take into account ADA. If you are in a wheelchair, you cannot go across the sandy beach to go fishing in the sandy area, but you can fish on the fishing pier. And so if the fishing pier is restricted, that I would believe
Well,
would be an ADA
So
violation.
the fishing pier is not restricted because it's before the gate.
Right now,
So you can get out there.
This current ordinance reads that you have to follow the sign. The sign only says you can
Ms. French.
fish on the sandy
Ms.
beach.
French.
That's all. I know, I'm just saying that.
Just give me a chance, give us a chance, that's all I'm asking.
The ordinance should be changed so that it does not say the current sign. It should talk about, you should wait and maybe bring this back after the signage has been changed and then discuss it.
Ms.
It should be
French?
tabled.
Just as a point of clarification, the Secundit Bridge, or the Stone Bridge, was an active bridge until 1954,
Right, and people used to fish off of it.
which is very dangerous.
Maybe so, people used to fish off of it.
Maybe underneath the bridge, but
And I fished off it in 1958, 1960. I used to fish off it when I was when I was little. I fished off the fishing pier. I'm just saying it was always a fishing pier, and it's always been referred to as a fishing pier for the last 75, 80 years. And
I promise you we're working on it. Give us a chance.
okay, because right now, currently, as it stands, you can't legally fish on the pier.
We're gonna get new signs and we can fish.
That's not true.
it's fine. It's fine.
Let's not-
Without this, we're gonna not have this turn into a back and forth here.
Until 2 in the morning.
Any other members of the public like to speak on this item?
My name is Jeff McNally. I live at Crest Road here in Tiverton. Right now, the way this is worded, it says amendment would prohibit fishing at Fogland and Grinnell's except in areas designated by signage. I can understand not wanting people to fish where the beach is. You don't want to step on fish hooks. Maybe rewording this to say fishing is allowed in areas unless it's restricted by signage. And restrict fishing at the beach so that people don't fish at the beach, but allow people to fish all the other places.
There might be other
Clearer.
areas that we're
Yeah,
restricting.
there might be other areas besides swimming.
That is a fair point, though. Mr. Administrator, thoughts?
There is an item in the Rhode Island Constitution that gives people a constitutional right to fish at all of the shoreline in Rhode Island. It's in there.
I think, for example, though, sir, on that one, you can't fish from the docks, for example, where the dinghy docks are. You're not supposed to fish from. I think that's what she means. Otherwise,
I think
People fish
instead of saying fishing's allowed where the signs say you can fish, it would be better to say you can fish everywhere except for where the signs say you can't. And then restrict it at the beach, restrict it on the docks, and it would open it up to allow people to fish all the other areas.
Mr. Solicitor.
Thank you.
Well, I don't like to draft an ordinance on the fly, but we
It
can
was
try.
restricted just as much, though.
No, he's giving us the mirror image of, he's saying fishing is allowed except where restricted. It's the
Right.
opposite of this.
Right.
That's
So we'd have
a
to
policy
put-
decision for you guys.
I would love to hear your thoughts.
So
don't
we
fish
would-
here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, put two signs on either side of the fish, the swimming area.
Don't fish here.
Mr. Travers.
Okay, again, I think we're all trying to work together.
Correct.
On this, right, not to separate. However it is worded, I think it would be the same thing if I said, you're allowed to do this, or if I said, you're not allowed to do that. Semantics. But again, I think that we're willing to work together to make things work for everyone.
I did,
We're acting in good faith here.
based on the conversation that we had earlier, I did have fishing shall only be permitted at any time in the area specified by signs posted on site after consultation with the Rhode Island Water Anglers Association by the town administrator, at the town, and he's the guy who can determine where the signs are. So I'm just trying to clarify that, so that it gives-
And we're including their organization into that to assist us, given their expertise.
Yeah. Okay. Any other members of the public like to speak on this ordinance? Any other members? Last time, any other members? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing on 8C. Members of the council. Councilor Janik.
Under Fogland Beach and Grinnell Beach, number 5, it says, "Any domesticated animal used by any law enforcement agency in connection with their official duties, including sworn canines." It doesn't say allowed or
Are
not-
allowed. It should be
Are
said.
allowed. And should we include service animals for people who have,
They would have that right anyway.
That's a federal law.
They would have that right anyway.
so we don't need to say that?
I mean, yeah.
Councilor Paul.
No, that's a federal law.
Okay. Any other members of the council? Councilor Burke? No? Councilor
Not unless we
Demidaris?
want to change that date.
Okay, so
Yeah, change the day.
October 1st to April 1st?
April 30th. The only change would be Columbus Day becoming
Okay.
October.
October 1st to April 30th? May 1st, yeah, also May 1st.
Yeah, on Columbus Day, great. Take my dog out.
What is that? October 1st to April 30th.
Okay, Councilor Perry, any? Okay. All right, so,
Can I just read these amendments?
yes, please do, Mr. Solicitor.
So B1 will be amended to read as follows: fishing shall only be permitted at any time in the area specified by signs posted on site after consultation with Rhode Island Saltwaters Anglers Association by the Town Administrator. That's the First Amendment.
Okay,
Second Amendment is number 4, changing the dates from from Columbus Day, making October 1st to May, to
April 30th.
April 30th, sorry, yep, that's it. And then subsection 5, any domesticated animal used by any law enforcement agency in connection with their official duties, including spawn canines, are allowed. So that allows police to walk the beach, and that's it.
Councilor Burke.
Should be by the town administrator in consultation with. He's having the signs posted, but he's consulting with them on the posting. Or
Like, say that again?
move administrator up to where the signs are being posted. And then in consultation with.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Hold on, let me just read it. So fishing shall only be permitted at any time in the area specified by signs posted on site by the town administrator after consultation with the Rhode Island Saltwater Anglers Association.
Councilor Janik.
I was gonna say under the offenses, it's spelled ENCE, and I thought it was wrong, but apparently there's Old English and New
It
English.
is our, we're channeling our UK tonight. Yes, our common law tonight.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the ordinance as amended.
So moved.
Do I have a second. Seconded by Councilor Perry. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? None opposed.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item for public hearing is approval of proposed resolution amendment to fee schedule. This is proposed adoption of an amendment to the fee resolution to revise mooring fees. Given this is a public hearing, any member of the public like to speak on the mooring fees? Any member of the public? Any member of the public? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Any discussion from the council? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve. Councilor Burke.
Quick question on the riparian, third and fourth riparian. I assume that's to mean each of those, so if I have a third one, I pay 75. If I have a fourth one, I pay 75.
I don't know, that's how it was written before. I assume that's what it is, yes, but I don't know how it's been interpreted.
The Assistant Harbor Master is nodding his head in the affirmative, so I assume
Okay.
that that's what it is.
Should we clarify that? though?
Yes, we should.
So, if allowed, the third, each of the third and/or fourth riparian, well, yeah, can't be and/or.
You get 2 for free?
No, you're paying 75
Third and fourth per,
per mooring,
yeah, per mooring,
per mooring, there you go.
per mooring. Just add it after registration.
Wonderful. Okay, any other discussion from the council? Okay. Like to entertain a motion to approve item 6D as amended?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion made second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? None opposed. All right, now for the big one. Okay, next item for public hearing is approval to the proposed amendments to the Town Zoning Ordinance as listed. Would our planning board friends like to come up? That way we can have specific answers for any public comment. I'd like to open up the public forum for all of these zoning amendments. Would any member of the public like to speak on these zoning amendments? Ms. French, I'm sure you're willing to come back up. For the record, this is Jamie French, Craig Avenue. Just trying to fast track you here.
Put so many things on the agenda tonight.
I blame Councilor Paul for that.
My biggest.
I'll defer to the solicitor.
My biggest concern is the commercial dock. And I want to make sure that the commercial dock doesn't end up as neighborhood complaints for noise. Because commercial docks can make noise all night long. And we have no I have asked, and it was not put in, that we have shore power for anyone who needs an extended period of time. Shore power would mean that instead of using their boat generators, they would be able to plug into electricity like they do at most commercial docks in America, and therefore are not noisy. But the way the ordinance kind of reads is that you're going to have to self-control yourself to like 50, I think it says 15 minutes. And we know that people aren't going to do that. We know that people are going to just make noise until the neighbors complain. And then the neighbors complain, and then you have to find someone who's going to go out in the middle of the night and begin doing sound testing. And our sound ordinances are based very liberal. They're at 70 decibels. 70 decibels is a vacuum cleaner. I can hear a vacuum cleaner a quarter mile away, and it's too loud. So if it's like adjacent to your house, can you imagine living next to a vacuum cleaner going day and night? I mean, it would drive anyone absolutely crazy. I mean, we're here for peace and quiet, and so that is my major concern, is the commercial dock. And the commercial dock is listed for both the new waterfront, which has many neighbors, and for the Riverside Drive area, where again we have many neighbors. Thank you. And
Thank
do
you.
you have a question, Mr. Comito?
No.
Okay. Thought you did.
Nope, nope.
All right, any other members of the public like to speak on this ordinance? Any other members? Okay. Final call. Any other members of the public like to speak on any of these proposed zoning amendments? Okay. Hearing none, I'd like to close the public forum. Members of the council. Councilor Burke.
I have a few. First one on, these page numbers are hard to read. Page 11, line 43. A mixed-use complex provides on-site parking facilities sufficient to serve its own parking needs. How are we determining what that means? We're just leaving it up to that facility?
What does it have to do with occupancy restriction?
You guys don't have a formula.
There will be partly based on occupancy, but we are also working on the parking regulations. It's the best answer I can give you right now, Mr. Burke.
So should that possibly refer back to any parking regulations that are contained in zoning? Future zoning? As opposed, because I read it right now that I can decide that I need 1,000 slots.
Maybe you only need one.
Right.
I think we can't forget the fact that all of these projects have to come to the planning board for approval anyways, and we're going to scrutinize all of the parking that is proposed or not proposed.
But isn't there already regulations for business and the amount of people they have there, and then they do a formulation of the parking?
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yeah,
So it would stand for them too.
There is a formula in the parking ordinance now. I think everyone that uses it and agrees that it needs to be updated. We just haven't gotten to that
Right.
section of the ordinance yet. But to your point, it probably does make sense there if we're going to have a parking restriction that applies to it, that it meet the parking requirements of the ordinance.
That, perhaps that doesn't surpass any capacity restrictions contained in the parking ordinance, something like that.
I think you just refer to whatever the parking
Okay.
ordinance
Right,
currently
or
is.
that was Mike's
Yeah.
point, was to add that reference in the
Yeah.
definition
What?
itself.
Because for now, it would go with the ordinance we
mean-
have, the parking regulations we have now.
Right.
Why wouldn't we just strike that right out of the definition? Why would that be in the definition of mixed-use complex?
'Cause you,
Because
That is, I mean, it's
the
definitional.
mixed-use
I mean, I'll
complex
refer to him, but I think
would
we
go
need-
in front of planning. But, I mean, why do we have to state that
Well,
in a definition?
I think because otherwise I could build a big complex and not provide any parking. And
On-site,
it's all,
it specifically says on-site parking.
right.
And then you get the RIP to bus them, just bring you around.
Well,
I mean, that is a possibility, you could strike the whole
I
thing,
mean,
but I think,
again,
the-
this
I
is
think the
talking
goal
about a
was.
mixed-use complex.
Yeah, it's a definition of what it is.
A complex is a complex, parking is something different.
That is true.
So I think it should be stricken right from the definition, period, and then follow parking ordinance or,
So the current zoning ordinance does allow you to have parking to meet your demand on a separate piece of property. And I think the intent here is to prevent that from happening. So if you're gonna propose a mixed-use complex, you have to have parking on site sufficient to meet your parking demands. If you take that out, it would not have to be necessarily on site because there is a provision in the zoning ordinance now that allows you to have parking on an adjacent piece of property to serve that site. It also allows you to do shared parking, which by putting that sentence in there requires that a mixed-use complex would contain its parking on its property. And you would not be able to do a shared parking agreement or to do off-site parking.
So would it be fair to rewrite this to say a mixed-use complex provides sufficient on-site parking facilities, period?
Per the parking reg.
Per the parking ordinance?
Yes.
Okay.
What is that, per, what's the section?
for parking regulations.
Per Article 10?
Section 1.
and Article 10, those are the standards that are still being worked on for performance standards, correct?
No, those are
No?
the parking requirements.
Article 10, Section 1 are the parking regulations.
Okay.
So
And
when that
there's-
gets updated, that'll automatically update this. But it's up to you, if you want to make a motion to strike it, you can make a motion, if it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass.
Yeah, I want to make a motion to strike
Do we have a second?
that last sentence.
Second?
I will second it for brief discussion.
Okay, Counselor Paul.
You said that we currently have regulations as far as parking.
Yes.
We're just making it more confusing, like,
I wasn't aware we had shared parking though.
You do.
Some areas you do.
First,
only
you have to
if-
meet certain
You have to-
requirements,
right,
but
it's
you
not
do,
automatic.
no, you have
Not all
the,
zones either, I'm sorry. Yeah.
there is the ability to have shared parking under certain requirements, but it is specific in the ordinance.
Right, but it's not everywhere, because we've
It's,
had this
that's,
problem before.
that's true. But what this sentence does is prohibits a shared
Mm-hmm.
parking situation for anything that qualifies as a mixed-use complex.
Because you could have a mixed-use complex in a zone that allows shared parking or in an area, so that's.
You could.
So that's why this says it.
Counselor Comito?
I mean, shared parking isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it's business-friendly, and I think it's appropriate that if I own a complex and I want to use all my property, as long as I'm meeting the requirements and I'm not overcrowding my building or whatever, it could be a lot of people coming in, single people, and want to, I mean, we're just talking about, I don't know. I just, business-friendly, I think shared lots are okay. And again, if somebody's taking advantage of it, we enforce something. We enforce the parking regulation and we figure out what's going on. Again, we're making it difficult.
I have a quick question on shared parking. Do they need to seek approval from the planning board for the project to get shared parking?
I think it's,
Shared parking is defined by the ordinance.
Right.
Part of the review process would include that, if that's
So-
what was proposed.
Hypothetically speaking, all right, I'll just pick a crazy thing. Let's say I wanted to build a mixed-use complex where the Seasons project is going to go, as an example. And I'm gonna, cut a shared parking deal with, RIDOT for,
Or Dunkin' Donuts in the
or
same
Dunkin'
building.
Donuts, something, yeah. But that would have to meet, the planning board to approve that parking, they would be the ones that would have to approve that arrangement.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
But there's a formula in the ordinance.
Yep.
They may have to request a variance.
Yes.
yep, so then they would have to go to zoning for the variance.
No,
Yeah.
they can stay
Planning
with
board.
planning
Okay.
now.
But I do have to tell you, one of the problems we had was the businesses were complaining. There was shared parking, and one facility was overflowing their parking lot, bringing it to their parking
You
lot.
have an example?
And then they had no, it was down at Four Corners. So.
That's what I thought you were gonna say.
There's no parking down there, period. I mean,
Right, so what happened was the
But they use
business,
shared parking,
one of the
yeah.
businesses said, the other business is taking all my parking, and I don't have any parking spaces now for my business. And that's why we looked at shared parking very
Yeah.
carefully at the time.
The intent behind an
Right, there's
ordinance
no
that has shared parking is that you have uses that are using the parking at different times of the
Different times.
day, so that you can have a daytime business, then allow the same lot to be used by primarily a business that operates at night. So
So
instead of
Dunkin'
building.
Donuts versus a nightclub, side by
Yes,
side.
so instead of doubling the amount of parking, you can share the parking space. There are definitely issues that come along with shared parking because, as we know, businesses
Insurance.
change hands.
Yes.
So you may have an original agreement. So shared parking can get complicated, and there is a provision in the ordinance, but it's relatively specific about how it works. And so this would, the other thing I'll just offer is in a mixed-use complex, you're kind of thinking of a, an assortment of businesses that might have like a central parking area, and then you're looking at potentially using parking spaces off-site, and it can become a lot more complicated that way. So the idea here was just, if you're gonna have a mixed-use complex, have your parking on the property.
So the current, I'm sorry, go ahead.
This sentence comes from the definition that was in the shopping mall definition, which we have now stricken.
We got rid of.
Or suggested we strike.
So, just so, the current ordinance, in a general commercial zone, the following uses may utilize shared parking. Dwelling use, hotel or motel, which is no longer allowed in some zones, right? Motel. Office use, retail and services business, restaurant, theaters, churches, and other places of public assembly. So that's what, it's only in the general commercial zone where shared parking is allowed to begin with, correct?
Yes.
Any other counselors have any comments? I will say now that, if it's staying, shared parking is only allowed in general commercial, given the fact that we have essentially no general commercial zone in this town, I'm fine with Counselor Comito's amendment to strike the language. All right.
second.
We have a
There's
second.
a second.
Counselor Janik.
With the changes in Rhode Island state law, if we don't say this, is there going to be an issue with any proposed plan that comes up? Will they know to refer to parking, or does the planning board steer them to parking?
Well, everybody has to abide by the parking requirements. So any business that comes in that's either proposing an expansion or a brand-new operation has to comply with whatever the calculation for parking spaces is within the ordinance, whether it's stated in the definition or
Should they
not.
So it doesn't really make a difference?
No. This is more about the idea that we didn't, as Todd said, we're proposing to remove shopping mall and just use this mixed-use complex as a catch-all for these types of businesses. And the idea was that this sentence carried over from that shopping mall definition that we're proposing to strike, and this would encompass all of these uses and would, again, ensure that the parking that's provided for these establishments is on-site as opposed to being a shared parking situation or an off-site parking situation.
Counselor Burke.
So would the current location of CVS and Secana River Grill be considered mixed use?
General commercial.
No,
That's
not by
actually-
this
Not
definition,
by this
because it
definition.
says that if you're within 20 feet, you're a connected structure. So there are caveats in this definition itself.
So what I,
So I'm trying to picture something that exists now. That would be considered mixed use, Tom's Market area?
Future Scholars over by.
Okay.
Yep.
So if we strike that language, could they potentially build a complex like that with no parking at all?
No.
Okay.
Counselor,
Well,
wait, no.
The other comment, well, Craig, if you want to go ahead, that's fine.
No, good, you can go. I
Well,
don't mind
you-
sharing.
I think one thing that plays out here too, for example, if you look at, we'll call it, and we'll plug my guess, the famous Pizza Plaza. Supposing the hair salon pulls out and a mini church goes in there. So we're talking about new construction here. But what stops the mini church from opening up and seating 40 people and parking 40 cars
Right,
all over the place?
right.
Nothing stops it. So this is for a new building, and then once the first two businesses switch hands and change tenants, it doesn't matter anyway.
It,
It does.
it does, because we would capture a change of use
Right.
through development plan review. So if you're swapping out, say, like you just said, say it's a real estate office or like a doctor's office that might see like 1, to 3 people an hour, as opposed to a church facility that's gonna have 40 people all come at the same time, that's a clear change of use, and by the parking ordinance changes the parking requirements, so they
that
would
just
need
happened in
to
North End, so-
adjust.
We'll talk about it after.
And again,
Camino.
I just want to clarify that when we're talking about a mixed-use complex, we're not talking about the pizza place and the hair salon, that sharing of parking. We're talking about, that's all on one piece of property. We're talking about them sharing parking with somebody who is off-site in another location adjacent or down the street or something like that.
I'm good.
Okay. Any other discussion on this point?
Gonna vote.
All right, all those in favor?
This is the motion to strike, right?
The motion to strike that, yes. Any opposed? All right, guess it stays in. Next item, Counselor
So
Burke.
I would make a motion to amend that with the language that our solicitor is working on
Per
to
article
add
to
in.
section 1. Add after demands per article 10, section 1.
Okay, second. Any further discussion?
Well, can I have that amendment again?
Sure, per article, so after the word demands, per article 10, section 1. Just adding. Who seconded
Okay.
that motion?
I did.
That just incorporates the parking ordinance, the current ordinance. That's the purpose.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. All right, any discussion on the proposed amendment from Counselor Burke? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Okay. Counselor Burke, can continue
Yeah, I
on
still
your
have more.
questions.
Now, page 16, lines 15 through 28 relate to the shopping centers, malls, which I understand why we're taking them out. Do we not have to show that elsewhere in the use table, or do we say it elsewhere that I just didn't see, where there are no longer permitted uses in town?
I believe we did strike it from the use table.
Okay, I may have missed it.
Okay, Counselor Burke?
It was stricken.
Okay, so now, going to page 19, in the use table.
tables. Yep.
For two-family and three-family dwelling, can you help me understand why we have not no for R40 while we have it for R30, R60?
For the 2-family and 3-family?
Yes.
I believe we selected the districts that have available public water and sewer.
Okay. But so all of the R40s do not have available public water and sewer at this point?
I believe that's the case.
Okay.
Only 30 and 60 do.
60 does.
Okay.
I have a question to piggyback off of Counselor Burke's question. Let's say tomorrow, for some odd reason, the Trump administration decides to dump $1 billion on Tiverton to build out water and sewer infrastructure. We'd have to come back and redo these zoning tables? Or is there a way that we could make both of those uses permissible with a performance requirement that they have access to public water and sewer?
I think you could do either of those.
Because I'd rather not have to go re-advertise all of our zoning ordinances again, if possible.
So what do you want to do? Put, access will become available if water and sewer is...
Just the performance standard for permissible
So,
would be.
I mean, on the same thing, why can't we, and I know we can't change this tonight because this was already a non-permitted use anyway for the 2 and 3 family. The thing that gets me is why can't we have a two-family or a three-family in South Tiverton, right? Why can't you have it on a well? Why can't you have it on a septic? I have no idea why this is in here. And there's another change further on that goes in the back here that says, I just gotta find it to my notes, but basically saying a three-family cannot be hooked to a sewer, not hooked to,
Must be hooked to a sewer,
must be hooked to sewer or
water.
water.
water, yeah.
So you can't have anything, you can't have a three-family or a two-family past 177 anymore. It's been like that, but I totally disagree with it. And if I have to not support this whole package because of it, I will, but there's no reason why you can't have a three-family in South Tiverton or a two-family in South Tiverton, but I understand we can't change it because it's
So,
already.
Councilor Camino spoke to me this afternoon about this. Because that's not a proposed change to this ordinance, it wasn't advertised. I asked, he indicated, we told him that if he wanted to make that change, we could do so in a future amendment to allow that in the R120 zones. But that, because that wasn't advertised tonight, we can't
Yeah,
change that.
and I
now.
missed that when I made that
Yeah.
note too. Thank you.
But that's certainly something that, it's a policy decision that you can make.
So I would offer that if that's a policy decision that you'd like to make, that we will have to go through and make some significant comprehensive plan amendments along with that, because the entire comprehensive plan speaks to allowing multifamily in the locations where there's public water and sewer, and not allowing them in the locations where there is not public water and sewer. So in order to do it, in the use table, we'll have to go through the comp plan and make amendments to all of those sections.
But that's not before us tonight, because that's not a change.
Right, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, if you want to move
Yeah.
forward with that, I want you to know that that's part of what we'll have to do, is to amend the comp plan.
So, Mr. Solicitor, if Councilor Comito would like to
But
gauge the board's appetite to ask the planning board to do it, we would do so.
This board?
This board.
Yeah.
To ask the planning board to do it, we would have to do so in the form of next meeting as an example. Proposed zoning amendment changes, send to them for comment, comes back to us.
I mean, if there's a consensus now that they can start working on it, but if it's not a formal vote, but if there's a consensus that that's what you want to change, then
it is something I would want to change in the future, but like, so, I think this helps divide the North Tiverton from South Tiverton, right? That's all we hear about is North Tiverton, South Tiverton, building, not building. And I think this allows a little more building. And I'm not talking, and when I say this, I'm not talking a large development of three-family houses. I'm talking about if somebody has some property, they want to put a two-family on their couple of acres, then they should be allowed to do that. I'm really not talking about a development with 150 three-family houses or a bunch of duplexes. I'm talking about, and I know that might get into spot zoning and all that, but I just,
If you permit it in the district, then they can subdivide and put in as many as they can fit. So if they have enough land, you will get a large development of three-family homes because it's permitted. You can't restrict it to one per unit. It's however much they can subdivide into 120,000 square feet and then place a three-family unit on that piece of property. So if they have a very large piece of land, you will get a very large number of three-family homes on that property if they choose to use that provision. If it's a permitted use in the district, they can, as many as they can engineer by zoning, they can have.
Would it,
with no impact to the town because it's their own wells and their own septics.
Well,
Well, what?
It could have environmental impact.
right.
Well, I'm only responding to the
Yes.
to the comment
Yeah.
that I'm not talking about a large development of them. You can't prevent that if
So-
if you permit it.
could we do it as a special use permit and put parameters around it that way?
I think you still end up in the same place Ashley was
Yeah.
suggesting.
I mean, yes, you can. I don't know what the parameters would be that you would prevent more than a few if they have the land to do it. It's like I said, it's as many times as you can cut up into 120,000 square foot lots, you can put a three-family on that piece of property.
But again, that's something to, in the future, if you guys want to move that, that's a policy decision that the council has to make, but it's not before you today.
But, I'm sorry, Mike, were you?
No, go ahead. I saw more. Go ahead.
On page 35, residential uses, it has three-family dwelling listed for a change, I assume. And it says three-family dwelling shall be connected to public water or sewer. So if we vote this through, that's basically taking it out.
As of this ordinance now, but
Right.
again, if you have to change it in the
You can come
future,
back to it
you have to go back and change that. But this is a comprehensive ordinance change for this. Now, remember, this is the second round of the review. Last time we did the waterfront districts and whatnot.
Yes.
This is the planning board now completing the review on the general commercial, the highway commercial,
Yes.
and the industrial zone, correct? So this is what's before you. So they went through those provisions of the ordinances and updated it and changed them or, made up amendments. So we didn't really do residential yet. That's the next round.
The only reason residential is, the three families here right now is because it was designated as a special use permit
Right.
only. We did not have special use permit criteria.
They still have to go,
Which you pointed out to us last time.
Yes.
astutely,
This is
correctly.
the answer to that.
So this is our fix.
so they still have to come back to us with their review of the residential, the village commercial, and the open space, I believe.
So with the review of the
Correct.
residential, will this fall back into that review
Yes.
again?
I would say it would certainly be part of that
And if,
review.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
And if that's a consent, if you're getting a consensus that you want to allow that in that district, then they can go back and, so I don't know. But I guess go to the planning board. But ultimately, it's your decision whether or not you allow that in those zones.
Okay.
But that's not really before you today.
But it kind of is, because it falls in with three-family dwellings shall be connected to public water and sewer. So if we vote on that, then it's,
But that's as of this, because they didn't review residentials yet, right? That's just a limit right now. If you
And
go,
it really is the fix to get rid of the special use.
That's all it was.
Permit.
Designation.
Yeah, because otherwise they become
Permitted by right.
permitted by right.
Yes.
So if I can just say, Councilor Comito, the planning board, as you know, because you sat through many of the meetings, there's such a large number of items that have to be gone through, rather than having them go through everything and then bringing it to us, volumes and volumes. They decided to break it into sections so that it's not so much to look at. So this is this portion, and then there's still another couple of areas that we'll have to come back and look at, and might change something. Just because if you remember the first time they came, like after you were newly elected, the big package that we had to look at. And so
studied it well.
I know, and we're just trying to avoid
let me get through this.
such a big cut at one point.
All right, Counselor Burke, continue.
Page 20, no, you're fine. Page 20, item H. I'm trying to understand how we would have a family daycare home, which by licensing standards means I have to have a home that I live in, and I have children coming into my home, and there are certain numbers that I can't go past, including total numbers of my children plus those I'm caring for. How can we have that? There are several areas, but tonight before us, highway, commercial, and industrial.
Because we have pre-existing residential units in those districts.
Wouldn't they be grandfathered?
Not for a
Residential use, but
not for a
family
daycare. They're grandfathered as a residential use, but they would not be permitted to have a family daycare unless we designated it as permitted.
And state zoning does allow residentials and industrial zones now anyway, right?
You can do them anywhere.
Anywhere, yeah. I circled that too, Mike, because I was concerned about having family daycare in industrial zones. I mean, that's something that can be changed back if you so
We have
wanted.
that currently.
What's that?
We have a family daycare and an
No,
At the
you
risk
have
of-
residences. Family daycare is the daycare that is done out of someone's residence.
But right now, we're already not allowing it.
Correct. It's not permitted.
And we had this conversation at planning and at the zoning revision committee and said that if you have a pre-existing non-conforming residential home in a non-residential district, you should not be prohibited from having the ability to open a family daycare. So this would only apply to a residence in one of those districts. Because by definition, it's a daycare within a family home, and it's also capped at the number of children.
But if you were to develop a housing complex in an industrial zone under the new LMI, you can put it in housing any zone, then all those houses.
Yeah, you could do it under a comp permit, you could do it under
So
adaptive.
all those houses would be
yes.
allowed to have daycare.
Yes.
So that's the,
Okay, you answered my question.
Same conversation for home occupation, which I assume was your next one.
Actually, I did not. You want to go for your home
I
occupation?
had a circle too, but.
And then I've already mentioned this to the solicitor on page 24, You want a motion for that, Michael? That's the statutory amendment?
Yeah.
So page 24 at the very top, it follows from, it's J from the previous page. Make a motion to amend the statutory reference to reflect current statute, which would be RIGL Chapter 42-12.5 et sec, S-E-Q.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion been made in second. Any further discussion on that item?
I'm just going to repeat it for Councilor Janik, 42-12.5 et sec.
Okay, any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
And that amendment, right?
On that amendment, yes. Okay. None opposed. Mr. Burke.
Let me see. Which of these? So I'm looking at page 29, where we're saying any of the above uses, and this is Section 8, restaurants and entertainment. D says any of the above uses in this section with drive-through service. Now, right now, we're only amending the highway commercial, but I just don't understand why we would have drive-through service for a theater or concert hall, a bar or a nightclub, perhaps, obviously, maybe a restaurant, but.
So we had, this previously was done with listing everything twice that might have a drive-through. And so instead of doing that, we just put a caveat at the end of these sections that said, if there's any of these uses that have a drive-through, this is what's required, and it was automatically a special use permit. So we're not suggesting that a theater or a concert hall would necessitate a drive-through. It was just an easier approach than saying restaurant with a drive-through, restaurant without a drive-through,
Okay.
this without, this,
Consistent through the
right.
district use case.
Okay.
Although, I don't know, a bar with a
Sneak one
drive-through
in.
might be a good
Well, ask the
idea.
president if he
Counselor
can sneak one in.
Comito, sneak one in.
Can I sneak one in?
He's asking Mike.
So, section 12, wholesale business and storage on the use
What
table.
page?
Page
Page,
33.
All right, we're following you, go ahead.
So the mini storage facility, not permitted in W1 and W2.
That's correct.
So,
33,
section
12C.
12C.
mini storage.
So I thought there was discussions about storage in our Water 1, Water 2, if somebody was gonna have, like it was one of the businesses, marine storage, or does this take that off our waterfront commercial?
Mini storage is a specific use.
Okay,
That doesn't apply to a retail or commercial business in the waterfront zones that also have storage, outdoor or indoor storage.
okay, so
Right.
it's just two different things.
Correct.
this is the primary use of what you think of, the, you know, the metal buildings with the
Okay.
garage doors.
All right.
If there's a marine business and they also store boats,
Yes.
that's secondary to their marine business.
So that'll be, all right, thank you.
It's, the definition is on page 11 of a mini storage facility.
I probably should have read that first, sorry.
Counselor Burke.
Thanks, Mike.
Well, you want a tag team?
Yeah, let's go. You next.
38, page 38, again, this is just the statutory reference, so I'll make a motion. It's under Child Daycare Center, line 33.
Okay. 38.
Same section, Mike?
Yeah,
This is not
42.
highlighted. Are we dealing with this right now?
Oh. Can,
That's a technical change.
yeah.
Okay.
42-12.5, et sec.
So that was a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
You said 12.5?
12.5,
Was that the same as the last one?
yes.
That was 12.1.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay, technical change passes.
Craig?
Counselor Comito.
So, page 41, open recreation uses, where it talks about, this was a major change. Driving tee ranges, miniature golf, similar operations. You can see it's quite a large section. I personally want to make sure that, and this is my understanding behind this, is that this does not affect what's in our industrial park.
In the PDP.
Right. So my understanding is that we're coming up with criteria for Longplex, that this does not affect him having a driving range or anything to that effect, correct? Because he'll fall under a different category that,
If there's a different use of a commercial athletic facility that includes a driving range, that's a totally different use than just a driving range that's being proposed here. And I believe this is permitted as it
This is
is
permitted,
in the PDP anyways.
right.
well, but this is brand new, so
Yep.
I just want to make sure it doesn't have effects on what we're trying to do there, so,
If you look back at page 26,
in the use,
section 6 recreation, this is the district use table, yes.
Right?
okay.
It's allowed by right in the PDP zone.
This just further defines it.
This is these are the
Performance
standards
standards,
for a
right.
driving
Right,
range.
but, right, it's
It's
permitted.
permitted by right in the PDP and the general commercial.
Okay,
And performance standards can be altered by the planning board as part of the development review.
okay, just kind of wanted that in the open, thank you.
Bing bong back to Councilor Burke.
Same section, oh, go ahead.
Deb wants to do it.
Okay, can I turn to Counselor James?
By all means, Councilor Janik, lay it on us.
Page 42. In the highlighted section, 12, 13, and 14, 12 starts with driving range, outdoor driving range shall utilize a drip irrigation system, so I'm guessing that's real grass, watering it. 13 talks about as much as possible should use synthetic turf,
If applied.
if applied.
Shall use low-impact, eco-friendly synthetic turf if applied.
She's pointing out a possible inconsistency.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Right.
Okay.
Because we're
We're
suggesting
saying-
synthetic first.
We're suggesting synthetic, no, we're saying we should
Water it.
water it,
But
and
if
then
you
we're
put
saying
synthetic,
synthetic.
We need
and-
to water it.
And then we're saying there should be a maintenance plan that's eco-friendly, avoids chemicals harmful to the environment. So it's talking about we want grass and we should water it, but that's not really what we want. We want synthetic turf. So it's just, they're talking about two different things.
Well, I think the intent there is that 13 would be the preferred approach. And I think the reality is that even if you did have synthetic turf on the driving range part of the facility, you're probably gonna have landscaping in other locations that are
So
gonna
you think there'd be a
require.
mixture?
I mean, we could strengthen the language about the synthetic turf first and then talk about, you know, if
Grass.
grass or other landscaping is utilized, then 12 and 14 would apply. I think we can tweak that language.
I think that would help.
I think we can make that clearer.
Would you like to tweak that now?
We could tweak that now, couldn't we?
Otherwise, we pass it as is.
So couldn't we just put 13 first?
We can change it back in the residential move?
If they include it in it.
Okay. Rather than have you rewrite this entire section?
Yeah, I prefer them not to write it on the fly. like
Yeah.
this.
Can you just make a note to strengthen that up, and then we'll hit it when the next package comes? Be more efficient for our time. Councilor Burke.
Same, back on page 41, but the same section about driving, driving ranges. 2 on page, line 37. Yep.
Okay.
Number 2, Mr. Burke?
Yeah, 2, we say accessory facilities may include but are not limited to. That seems to leave it wide open. I would suggest to the council that we strike that, but not limited to, and just specify what is allowable under accessory facilities for that type of a facility.
I guess our concern is, if you do that, then you are limiting it.
Right.
We don't know what
Yes.
else may be a feasible accessory.
I understand that. I think it leaves it too wide open to almost anything.
Accessory facilities may include, but not limited.
So I'll make this easier on us. I'll make a motion that we strike the words "but are not limited to" from line 37 on page 41.
Could we leave it a little more open? Because my concern is shared with Todd that we're gonna get something that's totally relevant, but we didn't think of it and it's not listed here, and then we may have a problem.
Okay?
So instead of leaving it as wide as including but not limited to, could we say may include
So,
the
so,
following and other related
uses.
services or similar something that keeps it close to the original use but does not limit it so much that we would have
so the
something reasonable.
Swansea Country Club, for an example, and I think this would fall underneath there, Swansea, accessory facility, which is, I would assume, another building to the, say we have a golf course or something. They put a swimming pool to an accessory to bring more revenue in. So,
Let's not forget, I'm sorry.
Batting cages, bumper boats,
right.
because I'm just thinking of the driving range in
Yeah.
Dartmouth.
Let me say this, though. We can't forget the definition of an accessory structure or use, which by definition means incidental or subordinate to the primary. I don't know if a swimming pool is incidental or subordinate
To
to
the
a
primary.
Driving range. Or miniature golf.
Oh, well, this also talks about golf too, right?
Miniature golf.
Miniature.
Oh, sorry.
I'm so tempted to quote the Big
So
Lebowski here.
So what?
I said I'm so tempted to quote the Big Lebowski here.
So there is inherently a restriction on what the accessory
I understand that,
facility
so
could
I'm
be.
just trying to make this easy on us, because I think I will not get the vote to do this. So I will go back to a motion to remove from that line 37 on page 41, the words "but are not limited to."
And just may include putting green. shipping
Yep, it's the,
area,
yep,
Pro shop, food and beverage service.
correct. Mr. President, is there a second?
I don't know, do we have a second?
It dies.
Dead. All right, next one. Are we bing bonging back to Councilor Comito here? Okay.
I have to just check my pages.
Yeah, I know, there's people here who want to get appointed. I should have taken them in front of you guys.
Are we doing,
Would that be a simple fix if you take 13 and move it above?
not necessarily in order.
It doesn't matter in order? Okay, thank you.
Where are you? Oh,
I'm done, Mr. President.
So, John, are you doing all of them at once, or did we just do,
We're,
that's what I was wondering.
we're swinging the whole thing in one
so
shot.
we had conservation development projects as well?
Yep.
And you had the non-residential operations, you're doing all, so I just want to make sure the public has a right to comment on all of those, because I wasn't sure, I thought you were just doing this first one, so,
And we ended up,
No, it was
okay, that's fine.
as listed.
yeah, we ended up going further.
The conservation development projects, as you remember, when the council proposed that district, there was a question raised by the council as to the other, they had limited about where the open space land could be, who could hold it, and the council instructed the planning board to come back and look at the other statutory provisions that allowed other type of entities to hold the open space in a conservation development. It looks like they just basically copied the statute and put it here. So now there were 4 available. The planning board originally recommended 2, and now we're back to the 4 that are available under the statute. So I just want to describe that. But so that's them coming back to us when we did that. Not all council members were here, but many of you were.
Councilor Comito?
Can I go to page 47, commercial marina?
He told you you were done.
I know, I'm sorry. I flipped the page, I thought I was at the end. So, commercial marina, 41, line 41, page, section 5 there, noise. So, prolonged running of engines, auxiliary generators between 8 PM and 7 AM is prohibited. So that kind of covers a little bit of
The vacuum?
the vacuum. It's
The
expensive.
vacuum maker.
Jamie's concerns,
The Hoover.
did you hear that in the ordinance?
Did you hear that, Jamie?
Just wanted to mention that, thank you.
All right.
Mr. President, make a motion.
Yes, Mr. Councilor Burke.
And Mr. Solicitor, if this works for you, let me know.
Just listed on the agenda, what
Yeah, so move that we approve the zoning amendments as listed on our agenda
and as amended.
and as amended tonight.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any further discussion?
So
Hearing
just so
none.
just so it's clear, we're talking about, I'm sorry,
Definitions,
the whole
district
thing.
use.
the whole thing, yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep. Okay.
I'll make put in the minutes, yeah.
All right. Hearing no further discussion. All those in favor? Opposed?
You were on the meeting too. You
So the next round would be residential
Yes.
review. And then we should be done. Oh,
Then come the comp plan amendments. Okay, next.
No, I think you abstained? Yes. So we have one abstention.
Yep. Okay. Next item on the agenda, before I'm going to ask to move a couple things up from general business, would be appointments and resignations. We have acknowledgement of resignation for Patricia Hilton from Planning Board and Zoning Revision Committee effective 4/12/2025, and Ann Lawton from Planning Board effective 4/14/2025. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept these resignations with regret.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
By all means, Counselor.
This is kind of a moot point, but I need to say it. I will not vote to accept Tricia's resignation. And I do know that I can't stop her, and she's probably at home laughing right now if she's watching this. But I think that her resignation, in my opinion, is a great loss to the town. Her knowledge of zoning and planning greatly surpasses a lot of us. This is no insult to the planning board. You do a wonderful job, but I think that you would agree that losing Trish is a great loss. She has so much experience on conservation and town council, and her major interest is investigating problems and finding a solution. I really wish we could have stopped this. This is not because Trish does not like the job. This was a personal thing with Trish, and it involved her property. And I really do think that we could have handled this a little better with open communications and try to resolve this without this having to happen. Sometimes people feel that town councilors or appointed officials get special privileges because of oppositions. But honestly, sometimes it isn't that. People treat us even higher standards because they don't want the rest of the town to think that we are getting special privileges. So even though we all will greatly miss her, and my vote is not going to stop her from resigning, but I just want her to know that I think she was greatly appreciated, and this is a great loss to all of us.
Thank you. Counselor Burke.
I would echo Councilor DiMederos on that, and I'll also not be voting for similar reasons. I'm also not going to vote to accept Ann Lawton's, because I think while she was new, she was bringing a lot of good, helpful background to the planning board with her legal background and her academic background. So I am sorry to see her step away as well.
I agree with Mike.
Counselor Janik.
And I will agree, I will echo. And as the chairman of the revision of the zoning, I miss her greatly and used her knowledge and her skills all the time, so she will be missed. Both of them, and also.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
I have discussion.
Oh, Counselor Comito.
Yeah, so I'd like to thank Trish for her time that she's in there. I mean, ultimately, this is her choice to step aside for whatever reason. None of my business. But she has given me a lot of insight with planning and zoning. I've learned a lot from her, and I might still be calling her from time to time for some information, but again, it's her choice, and thank you for everything.
And if we know anything about Patricia Hilton, She will take that, she will take that call, and she will talk to you for at least an hour and a half. All right, so, all in favor? Opposed? Okay. Next item on the agenda is Arts Committee, 5-member board, 2-year terms, 4 vacancies. We have 1 applicant, Nadine Messier, 132 Corey's Lane, requests reappointment, term ending 4/15/2027. Given the 4 vacancies, I'd like to, if you'd like to speak, otherwise,
Yeah,
I
actually,
was just
there's
gonna go
3
to a vote.
vacancies, because Stephen Healy joined in March.
Okay,
I joined October 2023, and Barbara Pelletier has kind of stepped down, so I don't know if she gave official resignation, but she is no longer working on the committee.
okay.
She was up for reelection this day too, but she didn't respond, so I guess she's just kind of stepping back. I wrote a whole happy little report. It's kind of long, but I'll just kind of briefly go over it. I started October 2023. Barbara helped me for about a month, and then she kind of stepped down, so I'm just kind of a newbie, just thrown into the pond, figuring this out for myself, but I'm going with it. So, November 2023, I reached out to Deb Estrella, the adult programming librarian at the library, to propose an adult, but open to anyone, but monthly art house film night program. So I've been running this for the past year and a half. Every month, the 3rd Tuesday of the month, I preview and select a feature film that focuses on authors, artists, musicians, photographers. I lead a discussion before, I lead a discussion after. I do some background information, but I open the floor to discussion about it, just to kind of give people some kind of arts education, kind of, art stimulation in our small town. And then Deb, the librarian, she supplies supplemental reading material in conjunction with the film, DVDs, CDs, books, to encourage more further education for people to learn about this topic we showed the film about. We've shown 15 films to date. I'm a graphic designer. I design the flyer, the posters. So Deb has been great about getting the word out there, but up until now, we've had no access to the Facebook page to market ourselves personally. So last month, Stephen joined board, and we were able to unravel the current Arts Council Facebook page because the current owners no longer are in the state and were unresponsive and locked up everything and didn't give us any permission to use it. So in the past 2 weeks, we're able to unravel the Facebook page, get a new phone number, get a new email address, and through that, within the past 2 weeks, I've been able to cross-promote our events and engage with other local Facebook pages and gather, make connections in town with other Facebook groups. Tiverton Library, Tiverton Happenings, Tiverton Today, Tiverton 411, Secant Social, Rhode Island Creative, Keep It Local, blah, 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 blah. So with that, I've already forming new partnerships that we didn't have before, getting the word out there that we exist, but also to promote and encourage an interaction between our town and other smaller local towns and their events. Because we don't have a lot to offer yet, but I feel like if I can kind of, build a community with Westport, Bristol, Little Compton, Fall River, because they have bigger events, just kind of share, the conversation between their groups and our groups, and they'll help us promote our things in the future. So with that, I'm forming relationships with those towns, and also the farmers market, the library, the Yellow House, which is a new independent bookstore in town near Four Corners, South Coast Artist Group, and Four Corners Art Gallery. So within 2 weeks, I'm getting traction with all these groups. I'm just one person, but I'm trying. So, so our goals for the future this summer, I just learned that there's a artist garden art stroll promoted by the Farmers Market and the Four Corners Art Gallery. They invited us to have a table there for free to promote us and to hopefully maybe get some more people on our council. There's only 2 of us now.
You need one more to have a quorum.
Oh, I thought I had to have 3. Anybody is welcome. I'm doing it by myself. So, so we're gonna have a table hopefully at this art ramble in the fall, in June. Sorry. I personally reached out to 15 local artists to see if they want to have like a mini, studio tour or workshop or something going on. Because right now my only partner in crime is the library, and now I'm getting traction with the farmers market. So I'm just trying to reach out and build community within our small little town. And I also just joined the, I can't say the word, the 250 committee, the sesquicentennial.
Semi-quincentennial.
whatever. Yeah, whatever. I call it the 250 committee because it's easier. So I joined them last month to sit in and offer any guidance or, input, and I'm going to be at that tomorrow. And I just did a little report showing you the before and after of our website, our Facebook page and my flyers, and that's the story. So let me hand it in if you want to keep that.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Well, if anybody at home is listening and would like to join a committee but not have to do any work, this is the committee to join.
I don't want to do it all by myself. I'm just
So-
trying.
Well, you have one other member with you,
Yeah,
right?
Stephen Healy. Yeah, he just joined last month. Yeah.
Right, so somebody needs to join so she
Yeah.
can have a real
So we have a phone
committee.
number, we have a website, and we have the website, the email, all work today, thanks to Jeannie, she's my other partner in crime, so at least we're legit now, that's all been updated on the website, so people will see that the work, the email works, the phone number is me, and that's it. So
I think you had us at hello.
we're getting there. We're getting there.
All right, so I'd like to entertain a motion to reappoint Nadine Messier, 132 Corey's Lane, for a term, to the Arts Committee for a term ending 4/15/2017, or 2027. So moved. All right, and seconded by,
Both so moved, so yeah.
all right, seconded by Councilor Paul, was that?
Second.
Okay, love it. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Congratulations, keep up the good work. All right, next on the agenda is Cemetery Commission, 5-member board, 3-year terms. We have one vacancy. John Christo, 48 Connecticut Street, requests reappointment, term ending 4/15/2028. Since this is a reappointment, I'd like to entertain a motion to reappoint John Christo to the Cemetery Commission for the term ending 4/15/2028.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Do we need to waive our policy?
We do not. Our policy stipulates that we do not have to interview.
No, waive it, appointing the same night.
One vacancy, one applicant.
Okay.
Right? Yep. Okay. Motion been made, seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Who's the second?
John David.
Councilor Perry. Opposed?
Oh, I'm good, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good for it.
Okay. Next item, Historical Cemetery Commission, 5-member board, 3-year term, one vacancy. Tom Snell requests reappointment, term ending 4/15/2028. Since this is a reappointment, do we have?
Tom's here.
Oh, Tom. Mr. Snell, would you like to come up
Second.
and speak? If not, I'm happy to entertain a motion on your behalf. Okay. All
In that
right.
case, so moved.
So the motion was to reappoint Tom Snell for the term ending 4/15/2028 to the Historical Cemetery Commission, seconded by Councilor Perry. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Discussion.
Discussion.
So,
I can't tell if you jump on the vote or not.
no. Any discussion, I put my hand up. So the work that this committee does is unbelievable. Tom is, like, I don't even know how to describe what he does. Like, so, Tom and a couple, I don't want to call them elderly, but a couple seasoned young ladies move headstones and dig these things out of the ground, like unbelievable, like pros. They spend mornings during the weeks, their Saturdays. I mean, the work is just unbelievable. And if anybody on the council has a chance to go see what they do, you should really check it out, because not only are you going to see how they move these stones, but you're going to get the history of almost every single person that they move. They have the background on everybody. It's unbelievable. So, Tom, I appreciate the work that you do. It's. I wish I could give you more time, but it's unbelievable. It really is.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
It's amazing.
None opposed. All right, next up, we have Open Space and Land Preservation Commission. This is a 9-member board, 3-year terms. We have 3 vacancies, all reappointments. Brian Janes, 286 Sepauwett Ave. Terms are 4/15/2028 when they end. Raphael Wexler, 91 Penny Pond Road, and James Spears, 494 West Amello Drive. We have 3 openings, 3 vacancies, 3 reappointments. I'd like to entertain a motion to appoint all 3 to terms ending 4/15/2028 to the
So
Open
moved.
Space and Land Preservation Commission. Motion by Councilor Paul, seconded by Councilor Perry. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Next up is Recreation Commission. We have a 7-member board, 3-year terms, 3 vacancies, all 3 are reappointments. Stu Gilfillan, all terms are ending 4/15/2028. 5 Highland Road, Dana Cootie, Kurt, Dana Kurt, 3 Whitetail Lane, thank you, Mr. Vice, and Maureen Sylvia, 772 Stafford Road. Do we have a motion to?
Motion to approve all three.
Second.
All right, motion's made and seconded. Any discussion?
I do want to say that they do a wonderful job for this community. I'm so glad they all decided to come back because they're very hard workers.
Thank you, Chair Gilfillan. All in favor? Unopposed?
Still, you're locked in.
Forever.
All right, next up, we have Dog Park Committee, 9-member board, 3-year term, 3 vacancies. We have 2 applicants. Paul Anderson, 18 Olympia Ave, request a reappointment for term ending 4/15/2028, and Joanna Chrisman, also at 18 Olympia Ave, also 4/15/2028. We will still have a vacancy. Do I have a motion to
Motion to
reappoint?
approve both.
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
A bunch of great applicants.
Wonderful. So at this point in time, because we do have some people here, I'd like to, without objection, move out of order 8L, M, and N. No objections? Okay. So first up is Administrator Jones, discussion and possible vote to schedule a public hearing to abandon Transport Road and approve funding to advertise the public hearing. Mr. Administrator, any feedback? If not, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
No feedback, sir, at this time.
This was part of the purchase and sale agreement that we signed with Street Legal LLC, that one of our conditions of the owner was to abandon this road, so this begins the process.
Could someone just explain to me where this road?
It's a paper street.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't
It doesn't
exist.
exist at
But
all.
it exists on a map, but it doesn't exist physically.
Yeah, because I was thinking I didn't, okay.
Did you see?
I saw it, but I
That's
just.
the recycling center
The
right there.
recycling center would be here, right?
Yeah, right here.
Yes, okay.
Okay. Do I have a motion to schedule a public hearing to abandon Transport Road and approve funding to advertise?
So moved.
Motion been made. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilor Perry. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Okay. Next item is under me, discussion and possible vote to authorize Town Administrator / Solicitor to negotiate a lease for the Municipal Recycling Center not to exceed 5 years, subject to final approval by the Town Council. Do I have a motion to?
So moved.
authorize- All right.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Okay, next up is Administrator Jones and Solicitor Marcello, resolution to authorize the Town Administrator to take all necessary actions, subject to meeting all requirements in purchase and sale agreement to close on property in the Industrial Park with Street Legal LLC, map 107, lots 813 through 818, for use as a car
Vault, I should say vault.
Yeah, vault.
vault,
Yeah.
car vault with lease for a municipal recycling center. Do I have a
So
motion?
moved.
All right.
What a car value was.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay. All right, now let me go backwards here.
Might want to go to K. I don't know.
What's that?
You might want to go to K, I'm not sure.
What's K?
It's referring to the zoning amendments.
Okay. Oh, then again, without, no. Then again, without objection, I'd like to also take item 8K out of order. Any objection?
No objection.
So this is Solicitor Marcello, discussion and possible vote to refer to the planning board on uses and other technical changes to the planned development park to include a bunch of things as listed. This is to send these items to the planning board. Do I have a motion to?
I was going to explain it, but it's up to you. So this was also part of our purchase and sale agreement with the Street Legal for the necessary zone change. But it's not only Street Legal, so the car vault is a definition there. That's what's being proposed on the lots that we just authorized the town administrator to close. There's also, as you know, there's another piece of property that the town is contemplating selling to a company regarding for a construction and demolition processing facility, I'm sorry. And that definition is in here as well. And again, these are all, this will just be, we're not voting on anything other than to refer to the planning board Under the statute, you have the ability to refer your changes to the planning board. They have to get back to us within 45 days with their recommendations. That's one way zoning ordinance can be amended, or, as we saw earlier today, the planning board can recommend to the council proposed zoning amendments, but only the council can pass the zoning amendments because they are ordinances of the town. So if this passes, we'll refer it to the planning board, and they will come back with a recommendation. They must come back with a recommendation within 45 days. There was one error I wanted to correct on this.
It's in the district use table at page 32.
32. There's, before we go to 32, I wanted, before we go to 32, I want to go to 31. 31 is the issue of the liquor license for the bookstore. Remember, and so this will allow a retail business with a liquor license to be permitted in the village commercial zone. That corrects that issue. So this is kind of like a hodgepodge of all things that have been left hanging. So then that's, again, to be referred to the planning board. And then on page 32, as Mr. Romano indicated, there's an error on the PDP. So the last column, it says retail sales and or rentals with open lot storage. This is the dumpster issue. We added and or rentals, so we believe that will allow the person to have rentals of the dumpsters at the site in the PDP with accessory use for the trucks and whatnot. It's listed as an N, but that should be as a P, as a permitted use. So that's, I just make that change.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you. And then the construction demolition processing facilities only being proposed in the PDP zone, not in the industrial zone, just.
Correct. Councilor Burke.
So,
Sorry.
one thing, it may not matter because we made the corrections already tonight, but those statutory
Yeah,
language.
that'll,
Yep,
we'll
okay.
catch those, yep.
How does this, going to the planning board at this time, especially around the Carvel, affect, if at all, the negotiations that were just approved?
It doesn't at all. no.
Okay.
Councilor Janik.
So what we are voting on is to send this to the planning board
For the recommendation.
for their recommendations, and then who does the public hearing? Is it?
We do.
We do.
The planning board is not doing a public
They
hearing?
can.
They can if they want
They-
to, but they don't have to.
There's no public hearing, it's a public meeting.
Meeting, okay. And it
then
will come
With a
back.
recommendation that it comports with the comprehensive plan.
And then we have to do a public hearing.
Yes.
Correct.
Advertised for 3 weeks prior to the,
I just think that some of the public felt that we were voting on this
We are
tonight.
not.
And I just wanted to make sure that they understood, we are not voting on these changes.
you're voting to refer
We're
to the
voting-
planning board for their recommendation, which is required under the statute.
Great.
Okay, do I have a motion to,
With those changes.
with these changes, refer the, all the items to the planning board?
So moved.
Okay, motion been made, do I have a second? Seconded by Councilor Perry, any further discussion?
I would suggest, the planning board is meeting when?
May 6th.
Oh, I would hope that they would be able to get this on their agenda by May
Yes, we will.
6th.
Okay. So, motion been made and seconded, all in favor? Opposed?
Oh, I'm in favor.
Okay. All right, now here we go, Director Rogers, update on the Nonquit Bridge project.
You all right?
I should have moved the director further down because you live so close.
Thank you. So DOT, Department of Transportation, did have a problem with the successful bidder. Due to that, they're re-advertising this project. The road and bridge will not be shut down this year. The project is anticipated to start March 7th, 2026. It's anticipated they'll advertise by the end of April of this year. It'll be reopened to traffic June 1st, 2026. So March 7th, 2026 to June 1st, 2026, it'll be closed. Work will be taking place. In fact, work has already taken place related to the Nonquit Bridge. They have been in touch with the big stakeholder in the area, Farrell Bank Farms. They'll be in touch with him again next spring. There may be weight limit changes over time with that bridge because they do periodic bridge inspections. But that's not under our control, that's under DOT control. I do not know who requested it to be put on the agenda, so if there's any particular questions that somebody wants answered.
Any questions from the council? Fantastic information. Councilor
Yeah,
Camino.
so, with that bridge project, that is one of the main sources for the fire department to use water out of in Grafton. When I was the acting chief, it was very difficult to get Newport water on board for fire protection. And if this project's getting pushed a year out, I would suggest that either the fire chief or yourself, somebody start getting involved with those talks with Newport Water. There's a hydrant right down the street that they could possibly use, and the process was so drawn out last time. I just think those talks need to be done for fire protection as soon as possible.
Yes, and I would defer that to the fire chief.
Josh is.
Either the chief or the deputy chief.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Director. And then, don't go anywhere, guys, because you're next.
So that conversation's already happened. That unfortunately, that dry hydrant's gonna get shut down, but we do know that the hydrant that's at the end of that laneway has been tested. Me, Chief Petra went down there, Chief Bailey went down there, we checked it, tested it, so it is operational.
The one that comes from Little Compton Pond, right?
Yep.
So Newport was, I don't know if you followed up with Newport at all, but their water authority was adamant that we didn't use that hydrant, and I had our legislation looking into it to get permission to use it, so I don't know if you got permission, but
No, we don't have permission, but I assume if there's a fire down there, we're just gonna use it.
very good.
And ask for forgiveness.
That's a whole nother agenda item, but I want to learn more about that. They tell us we can't use our water to put out a fire?
The water comes
No,
from Little
the
Compton.
water comes from Little Compton.
Well, before the water resides in that pond, it flows on our land, so we can have a separate discussion there later. All right, next item on the agenda, Chief Bailey, discussion of possible vote to purchase Dartmouth Fire District 1 2000 E-One Cyclone at a cost of $35,000, which includes cost of pumper, related service, maintenance, and lettering.
So we had an opportunity that presented itself to the town, and to the fire department, to purchase a fire engine from the Dartmouth District 1 through Deputy Chief Ferrera's connections with that fire department. Given the current state of our apparatus and the delays on purchasing and receiving apparatus, we feel this is a real important step that we can make that will tie us over for several years until we can upgrade the rest of the fleet. We have an engine on order, but that was supposed to come in the first quarter of this year. It's already been pushed back to the third quarter. We don't know if that gets pushed back again. It's the state of fire apparatus in the country right now. It's also under investigation by Congress, just as an aside. I would defer to the Deputy Fire Chief if anybody has any specific questions. We've had the truck examined. We know what repairs need to be made, and we're looking for $35,000 to purchase this engine.
I will make the motion for discussion, if we're gonna go that way.
Motion made, seconded. I'll second. All right, Counselor Timadeiros.
It seems too good to be true, Josh. And I don't,
No, I understand
It
that.
really does seem too good to be true.
No, I understand that,
And so they're actually selling it to us for 15.
Yes.
And then we're gonna do the repairs.
Yes.
Now, is Bulldog on the master list? Like,
That's who we primarily use for
so we
all of
don't-
our repairs
So we don't have
besides
to go out for
DPW.
bid, okay.
Extremely reputable.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
They
that
do
we didn't
about
have to, like-
80%, 90% of our repairs to our fire apparatus
Yeah.
now.
I realized you had a quote, I just wanted to make sure that that was okay. But this still seems too good. Did you see this? What it says
I'm
about-
I'm part of that fire department as well.
Okay.
And I know the truck very well. There's a district, there's a lot of money in that district, and when they,
come from, Deputy Chief?
it's the Paid Narram district. So,
So they
basically,
bought a new one and.
so they bought a new truck. They're
And
doing a
kinda giving
station.
it to us.
They're doing a station renovation right now, and they need room to put the windows and doors and appliances and all this stuff, so they're looking to get this truck out of there. So the opportunity came available. It has 48,000 miles on it. I know it's a 2000, but it has 48,000 miles on it versus our engine that we have right now, which has well over 200,000 miles on it, the reserve engine.
And it was only used for emergency.
Yep, so they do about 550 calls a year. In 2018, they got a new engine. They put this one in the back line and made it basically their medical engine.
Yeah.
So it does about 100 medical assists a year, and that's what it's done since 2018.
So that's not a lot of wear and tear.
None, not much at all, versus what we have on some of our trucks.
Any, I'm done, that's all I had to say.
Counselor Camino.
So, Deputy, I looked at your sheet here, and I'm not sure if I'm looking at this correctly. So the price of the truck is 15,000,
Yes,
and then the repair cost was 23,000.
yes.
So I'm not sure if I did this right, but it looks like you have a shortfall of
Right,
$3,757 on the repairs.
yes.
And is there any account for radios, changing over radios, putting radios in, mounting of equipment?
So you know we have Captain Wells, who
Yes.
is very good with that stuff. So the plan is to get rid of the current engine 4 that we have as a reserve, take the radios out of that, put that in this truck, put the equipment that we have for that on this truck.
What about mounting brackets, so in the past, we've always, I think I had this conversation with the administrator earlier, let's run to True Value, let's run to Humphreys, let's make our own stuff. I think this is a great opportunity, a great thing, but I do see a little bit of a shortfall here,
So
of
we
almost
didn't-
$4,000.
Right. So the reason we didn't ask for the full, I know there was a shortfall there. We do have money in the current operating budget, so if we do go over, we can come out of our apparatus maintenance. We also have a small equipment budget that we still have decent amount of money in that we can
I noticed that
make
when I
that work
looked at
as
the
well,
budget.
so.
So can I amend, or make a motion to approve, but up to a sum of 40,000 and not to go over?
And where
for-
is this coming from?
We have a motion already on the floor, right?
Correct. You would amend
All right,
He'd
so
amend the
motion to
I'd
amend.
like to amend the motion to not go over 40,000 so they can have the difference in the shortfall of the repairs. So there are some minor other repairs in this quote that, needs to be fixed,
Yes.
but it's not part of the quote. So, it's small stuff.
Right.
Under
The
step
stuff-
lighting, front seal leaking, so that stuff needs to be fixed also. So I think if we give a little bit extra to get their radios and whatever brackets you need to mount different tools. So I would like
Okay.
to amend the motion.
Motion been made, do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by,
Discussion.
actually, since you made the motion.
Okay.
Okay. No, I was gonna say, doesn't that, you're just accepting the amendment, so it is what it is,
Accept
right?
the amendment, yeah.
Okay.
Don't we have to put where we're taking the money from in the motion?
We kind of left it vague so that the town administrator could do his little magic and find the
All
money.
right, I just
But
wanted to
that's,
make
yeah.
sure.
I mean, there was a discussion at the agenda meeting where it might come from, but we weren't really sure.
Okay, so you don't need that.
Okay. Counselor Janik.
Just to point out, so I know these engines, they have mileage like your car at home, but then there's like the running mileage, and so they're estimating just shy of 400,000 miles on our current fire engine.
Yes.
And it said this vehicle is no longer considered reliable for emergency services. So if we don't have this new one, this other one gets put out, we don't use it at all? Or is it like an emergency backup, or?
So our current engine 4 would go out of service
Out of
forever,
service.
and it wouldn't be used again as a fire truck in the town of Tiverton.
So we'd be short a vehicle?
No, it's our reserve, so when any of our frontline trucks are down, being repaired or something like that, this will go into service to take its position. So it's not
Okay.
running all the time, it's
All right.
running as needed during repairs and
Okay.
stuff like that.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? I just wanna say, I mean,
Thank
this
you.
is like a $500,000 savings if we're gonna go
Okay,
buy
yeah.
something, if not more, so thank you guys very much for that. All in favor, and the motion was amended to 40, not to exceed 40,000. All in favor? All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you very much. Town Administrator, discussion and possible vote to approve 8 6-foot concrete rectangular universal access picnic tables for use at Fogland Beach. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I want to thank, obviously, the Recreation Director, Stu Gilfillan. As you probably have seen, we're getting the beaches ready down in Fogland for the season. All of the old tables that I want to thank, God rest his soul, Joe Perry, and also other people who worked on maintaining those tables. But given some of the storms that we've had in the past, unless you were 11 feet tall, that was the only way we were going to be able to use those tables. So we directed the DPW garage along with Recreation to remove them. So as of right now, there are no tables for the season. This would supply tables that hopefully people cannot move, they cannot burn, they cannot take apart. They're specifically used for this area, and I'd recommend that I work with the DPW director so it's taken directly out of his budget. for the purchase for the season. And how they're gonna get dropped is, they bring them in with a crane, because they're concrete, they're heavy, and hopefully we won't have to deal with vandalized picnic tables again.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. He's good.
I'll make a motion to approve a 6-feet concrete rectangular, I thought that was a mistake, universal access picnic tables for use at Fogland.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Discussion, Mr. Counselor.
Yes, is there any way that we could add is there a need at Grinnell's Beach?
The quote that we did receive at this time was only for Fogland, so I would have to consult with the Recreation Director to see if there's any need down in Fogland.
Grinnell's.
Grinnell's, excuse me, stand corrected.
I don't know where you-
Grinnell's. Yeah, what I can do,
Do we
sir,
have any
is,
tables at?
if you so choose to approve this, I can always bring it back in front of you. And what I would probably want to do is see how many, because this specific quote and this agenda item is for the 8 tables specifically for Fogland. I'd want to get another invoice, another quote, if, depending on how many we would need, clearly we wouldn't need 8.
Well, now that we have the gate open, we won't have to worry about the fires.
Amen, Counselor.
That's right.
All right, I'd like, if you could work on that, I think we should have it at the other beach also.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Counselor Burke.
So these just sit on top of the sand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we're not going to have to jump up to them?
No, sir.
We're
No,
hoping
sir.
not.
People like me?
And hopefully they don't wash away, none, they're specifically made for this purpose, for parks, recreation, and beaches. So,
Did I also read ADA compliant too, right?
I believe so, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
that's nice.
Any further discussion? All right, so we have a motion, we have a second, all in favor? Opposed? Beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Mr. Vice President Paul, discussion and possible vote to purchase commercial trash receptacle at the end of the Stonebridge abutment. Counselor.
Essentially goes without saying. I think that it will go a long way in helping to curb some of the trash at the end of the abutment. I think it was Stu that said to me one day, there was a study about carriages in the corrals and parking lots. So essentially, if we put a trash can closer to these people, they're more likely to use it. And I'm actually looking at Belson Outdoors, which we got the estimate on the picnic tables. And they also sell commercial black powder coated trash receptacles as well, so. But
Okay, would you like to make a motion?
I will make the motion to approve the purchase of a commercial trash receptacle for the end of the Stonebridge abutment. And I believe they run anywhere from $300 to $700. I'm sure it could be less.
Second.
Is there backup on this?
Any discussion?
So we don't have backup on this?
No.
I'm assuming we would find it from,
No, there's
MPA
several,
approved.
yeah,
we're looking at 1 trash barrel.
that's it.
What do we use now at the beaches?
Nothing.
Well, we got them at the beach house.
Yeah, at the end of the abutment, there's nothing. At the Grinnells themselves, there's 4 separate,
Are they 55-gallon metal drums?
no.
They're better than that?
They're 3, set of 3. It's got recycling, trash, and
All right, all right.
so.
Counselor Janik.
So are this trash can something that can't be moved? It's heavy, like the cement picnic tables?
Yeah, you don't want it to end up in the current. They can, there's a couple different ones that they make, and it can be essentially mounted or affixed to the railing, because that was a concern I had as well. I was actually looking for, they do make a rectangular one that would actually sit in the corner at the end of the abutment. So, but there's a variety of different black metal powder-coated trash receptacles, so.
Because I do agree, if the trash cans are there, people will use them.
I
And
thought we had one there at one point, David, no? And then
Somebody
I've never
threw it
seen
in the
one
water,
there.
probably.
Well,
Counselor
we
Burke.
should have multiple
Counselor.
trash cans there, especially for the dinghy dock.
Yep.
So what budget is this coming from?
I think given the low price, we'd leave it up to the administrator to,
So what I would ask of the council is a guidance on, as far as how much you are authorizing me to spend and how many you want to purchase for this area.
start with 1 and go from there.
My recommendation would be, after looking at the budget, and you guys looked at it tonight, I believe, the current landfill budget still has $25,000 for bulldozer repairs for the second year in a row. I don't know how that slipped by us with the bulldozers now being at Public Works. So there's $25,000 sitting there unused for landfill for bulldozer repairs.
Mr. Administrator, or Counselor, I'd like to offer an amendment to your motion not to exceed $1,500.
If that's the will of the council, then you set the budget and I operate within it.
How much did one cost, David, did you say?
300 to 400.
3 to 400?
Yeah, 3 to 7, depending on what you get. But they're all black, powder-coated, heavy-duty, commercial exterior.
This would allow I'm sure the administrator will pick out something nice.
I just need to know
Well,
how
with
many and
this
how much.
price, you're saying we could literally buy two.
Town seal on it.
Yep.
Where would you put one at the end? And do we have one at the beginning?
We do not.
So it's the will of the council, I'm sure after you vote, to authorize me to purchase two.
Up to two.
Up to two, not to exceed $1,500 in price.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
All right, motion been made, seconded. Counselor Burke.
Just, I'm going to vote no only because I would like to see more information when I'm making a vote, and especially for the town administrator to tell us exactly where this money would come from, and to be able to see what the product looks like.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
No, I'm no. Sorry.
It's recorded. It's on camera, everybody. He did it. All right, next item on the agenda is...
It was a twitch.
We need to switch one.
All right, next item on the agenda is discussion and possible vote to approve Council Resolution 2025-0017 in support of House 6176 to House 6184 and House 6213 to House 6215 related to comprehensive planning and affordable housing. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the resolution. Councilor Burke.
So I will make a motion to approve it with an amendment that we also support any corresponding Senate bills. Duplicate, that if they
Oh,
get introduced. Right now, they're not.
That's fine,
Yeah, right now, they're not
Does it say
introduced.
that?
We don't have them yet, then I thought it said at the
I
bottom.
thought it said that.
Oh, does it?
too.
Maybe I missed it.
We're on Senate companion, yeah.
It does, yeah, in the
Okay.
appropriate Rhode Island Senate
Okay,
computer.
so my motion is to
Not my first
approve.
rodeo.
Motion to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilor Perry. Any further discussion? Just for those at home, these are all the bills that we asked our state delegation to put in for us to help limit the comprehensive permits and some of the impacts they're having in the town. So, all in favor?
I meant it this time.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, Councilor Janik, discussion and possible vote to add policy to the Tiverton Town Council Policies that allows any councilor to add items to agenda meetings without requiring council president approval. Councilor Janik.
So I did add this, there's nothing that, in our policies right now that allows for council members to put items on the agenda if they're not approved by the president of the council. There are 7 members of the council, and we represent the entire town. So as people have special interest, or we have special interest, I would like for the ability for us to put that on the agenda. If the president is not in approval, as a courtesy, a callback, a text, an email, to discuss the reasons why it shouldn't go on the agenda. And if the councilor still feels they want that on the agenda, after a discussion back and forth, that it would get placed on the agenda so that we could address it as a council.
Can I ask a point of clarification here? Essentially, what you're asking is that if you put an agenda item in, it automatically goes on the next agenda?
I'm not saying the next agenda, but I know I have put items on in past councils and in discussion. It was felt that it was something similar, or to override that is coming up in one of the next agendas. And so we've either held it, or we've modified it, or we've taken it off completely. So I think just as a courtesy to discuss back and forth why the president doesn't feel that it's an important item to go on the
So-
agenda.
As a further point of clarification, is there a specific incident that you're referring to as it relates to me not telling you you can have something on an agenda item? Because to my recollection, former Councilor Hayden was the only one who I've had discussions with about not putting things on because they weren't either ready to go or sufficient backup. So I'm kind of confused as to the genesis of this.
Not sure why you're confused. Yes, I did try to put an item on, and it was to rescind the water bill, the water department merger, and it was denied to be put on. So as a result, we had to do a special meeting request. And I just think that for efficiency, the council should not having to be doing extra meetings because we could not get items on the agenda.
So, just again, for clarification, the understanding here is that you were upset about not having that on a specific agenda, so therefore we must make a wholesale policy change because of
Mr.
that.
President?
Please don't
May I-
make this.
Again,
may
I'm
I-
trying to understand
may
what's
I-
going on here.
May I? I think, so, past practice, prior councils, I know that when, and this is my only experience, and also from school committee days, when Councilor DiMederos was the chair of the school committee, and also when she was the president of the council, it was a common practice, unwritten, that if I or anybody on the council asked for an agenda item to be put on, and she had a concern about the timing, about why, or maybe some other work needed to be done first, she'd have a conversation with that person. At the end of that conversation, that person still could say, no, I really think it needs to be on this coming agenda, or maybe I agree that we can wait, you know, it's not that high of a priority, we can wait for 2 meetings or whatever. And at the end of that conversation, it was either on the agenda because that person really wanted it on that agenda, or maybe they said, no, you convinced me, I don't need to do it, or it got moved out to a further date. So I think that's all this is asking.
And again, Councilor Burke, I don't disagree. I feel like this is a solution looking for a problem here.
Mr.
Because
President.
myself, I have not had one agenda request from Councilor Janik where I've said, no, this isn't going on the agenda. In fact, quite frankly, I mean, as I reached out, I thought that this shouldn't have gone on the agenda, and I had zero feedback from Councilor Janik. So,
All right, I think this is-
Mr. President, can I speak to this because it involves me?
Councilor Paul.
So I was the person at the agenda meeting that needed to handle this item. In discussions with the solicitor and the administrator on the motion to rescind, it was not clear what we could rescind or could not rescind, or if we could. So in discussions with the administrator and our solicitor, it was decided that he would issue a written opinion on the matter. I did notify you, Councilor Janik. Again, I even said it in the message. I hated to leave a message to notify you of that, but I've also been dealing with a lot of stuff household-wise as well. So there was one call made to you, 2 return calls made from you to me, and we hadn't spoken 4 days after that, so. But we were waiting for a written opinion from the solicitor at his and the administrator's request.
I think had you actually returned my calls, we could have had that conversation. And that is what I'm looking for, a conversation.
I do want to say and I don't want this to be a fighting match, but I do want to say that the reason was the town solicitor could not give us an opinion by Monday night, but he gave us an opinion 12 hours later, on Tuesday, after we put the agenda item, after we said we're going to have a meeting, we got.
Councilor DiMederos, I spoke to the solicitor twice over the weekend, and he was still working on it at that point. So I don't,
I just think
it was something that was not guaranteed, and I wasn't prepared to put it on the
President,
agenda.
may I?
Councilor Camino.
So, I agree with the words that Councilor Burke just spoke, right? So it's, to me, it's a simple conversation, right?
Correct.
I think that's the way the process should work. I also come from a background of chain of command, right? So there's 2 things that I think should happen. The president is the president, and things should go to him. But he should also return a phone call or talk to somebody and have a conversation on why or when or what's going to be put on the agenda. The second part of this is, I think our solicitor is way too available. I think it's ridiculous that any councilor can call our town solicitor at any day, any hour, at any time to ask him a question and get multiple questions about the same thing over and over and over again. Or we keep calling him until we get the answer we want to hear. Like, he could get 5 phone calls on the same topic and have to answer every single thing, and then everybody interprets that differently. So I think there should be a chain of command. I think it should go through, even if I want to talk to the solicitor, I don't necessarily call our president, but I always talk to the town administrator asking permission to call. I understand maybe that's not how the policies work, but I think it's the way it should work. It should go through the president, and if he can't answer the question, maybe the administrator, and then over to our solicitor. So unfortunately, I can't support this. I think we should have a chain of command. He was voted in to be the president. We should follow, but he should also acknowledge, just like Mr. Burke said, our concerns.
But I do think, Craig, that if the president talks to the councilor and they say, no, this is a priority for me, I want it to go on and I want the rest of the council to weigh in on it, I don't think the president has the right to take it off the agenda. Maybe say, all right, we're not going to be, we are going to look into this further, or this may not have to be on the agenda, but I don't think.
Denise, in your 14 years, have you ever held anything off an agenda?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, I have, but.
Okay.
But the councilor has agreed.
Right.
And you can ask all the councilors, they have agreed.
I'm just asking to learn, that's
Yes,
all. I
they
don't
have
know if you did or
agreed.
not.
Yes, I have called them.
Everybody just said yes.
Right, but what I have to tell you, Craig,
After
if I
discussion.
talk to them, and Jay, who isn't here anymore, once said to me, no, I really want it on. I think there's a timeline here. I put it on. So yes, I hold it off as long as that counselor said, fine, let's go for that.
I think there was just a miscommunication here, and I don't think there's a need for this.
I will add that I was also aware and loosely threatened that there was going to be a special meeting regardless of whether or not that opinion came back Saturday, Sunday.
So
I
without,
spoke to the solicitor twice. I was already told there's already a plan to have a special meeting. So you knew you were going to have one. To call it a waste of time is just that. My apologies.
so for the, and again, we're sitting here now, it's almost 10 o'clock. We're 3 hours in. We still have a number of items on this agenda to cover. So I think for us to have a broad-based policy where any counselor can put whatever they want on the agenda, then, and again, there's no backup language for what the policy would be here.
It's right on the agenda
John, I
request.
just think what we're asking for is if an item.
And again,
A verbal communication, not a text.
I don't disagree.
And then don't answer back phone calls.
Yeah.
A verb, and I'm not saying you did that.
That's,
but
that is
verbal
my point. That is my point here, is that one incident does not beget a wholesale policy change, especially in instances now where, again, as I have said a couple times this evening, I didn't create this agenda. I was not here. And look where we sit. And if any one counselor or any 6 of you decide that you want to each throw 5 items onto an agenda, we could be sitting here staring at a 50-item piece
John, all you have to do
because
is
of
call.
a
That's all
policy
you have to
change.
do.
All you have
And
to do
again,
is call us and say, I have too many agenda items. Would you
I'm-
mind if we do it next month?
but if we have a
Would you
whole,
mind if
but if we have a wholesale
I-
policy that says you can say absolutely not.
I don't disagree with any of you, but
I know.
what's happening here is he's getting caught in the middle of an agenda he didn't create, and nobody's listening, so let's call for a vote or whatever.
I move the motion.
There's actually no motion on the floor, so is there a motion on this?
I'll make a motion. Move it. I'll make a motion. Make a motion to move the Council Janik's discussion on, what was it?
Well, if I'm reading you correctly, your motion would be to deny it. That's
We'll take a vote. Discussion on, I'll make a
So
motion.
so.
I'll make a
are you
motion
you're
on
making a
council-
motion to approve the policy change?
No, I'll make a motion to deny her policy change.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor and a vote in the affirmative is to deny this, correct? Okay, all in favor?
That way they can bring it
Opposed.
back if he votes for it. He voted to bring it back, he voted yes, so he can bring it back.
All right, next item on the agenda. Councilor Janik, discussion and possible vote on all or portions of the 2026 budget.
Okay, so this was put on by Councilor Di Maderas and myself. We are both liaisons to the Budget Committee. And contrary to past practice, we typically hold budget hearings that run parallel with the Budget Committee's timing. And we've not had any budget hearings at this point. So as they're asking, and the Budget Committee is a lot of new members, they're asking questions on why some of the items are very much less or very much more. Why have they changed? And we really don't have any backup to give them. We don't have any advice for them. So
Basically, we're just asking to schedule some budget hearings.
So, and again, I'll defer to the solicitor here because past practice was under a past charter where the only opportunity for the council, once a budget was approved by the Budget Committee, was to submit a secondary budget for voter consideration. Alternative budget. And so now we have a new change to the charter, which, again, this is our second year going through this, right? Second or third, where the process is the budget is submitted to the Budget Committee. The Budget Committee acts in their advisory capacity. They finalize what they finalize. They send it back to us, and then it is incumbent upon us to handle the budget. And I, for one, would not like to deviate from that process, and if there is a suggestion to alter that process, I think the proper venue is to alter the charter, which outlines the process, which there is a charter commission currently going on. I think that would be the place to discuss how to alter the budget process. But personally, again, my personal feeling on this is I'm not looking to do the Budget Committee's job for the Budget Committee. I'm looking for the Budget Committee to do their job and then for us to do ours. Councilor Burke.
So even prior to the charter change, my memory is that the council would still have budget meetings throughout the budget process. We did that the first 2 years of this new way of doing business, and it was very helpful for us. We got to know the budget better. We got to ask questions ahead of time. And I don't see that the charter prohibits us from doing that. It's complementary to the work of the Budget Committee. So I don't see an issue with having a series of meetings where we look through the budget line item by line, section by section.
Mr.
Councilor
President,
Newman. Councilor Perry.
I have, Deb, your last line item here says, times are fast approaching, and we, as the council, need to provide the most accurate, up-to-date information to the Budget Committee in order for them to be successful. They're supposed to be providing the information to us.
they
Now,
don't,
Debbie, I have the floor.
go ahead, David.
They're supposed to be supplying the information to us. We've stripped them of all their power. Not we, past councils, and I believe you were sitting on them. Stripped them of all their powers. I remember sitting on budget committees and sitting in this room until 1 o'clock in the morning, going over budgets, and we had some teeth in the
They could
budgets
still
years
do
ago.
that.
They have no teeth anymore,
Well, because of the
They
new
have
change.
no teeth.
Because of the new charter change.
because you people stripped them of it.
The
Wait,
people
wait a
voted
minute.
for the charter
Of
changes.
course,
People
because you
voted.
you people put it in there. You wanted,
my God.
because you
Oh, my
wanted control of the
God.
money. You wanted all control of the, we have one budget to vote on now.
David,
One.
did you watch last year? There
One.
was- We didn't control the budget. We had several budget meetings about the schools.
But how many budgets do you vote on now? How many budgets are there for
Well-
people to vote on?
There's
But they can do an
One.
alternate
That's
the way it
budget.
should be.
That's the way it was last time.
Of course, because we
But it was
changed,
the budget
the
committee's
town
budget.
changed it. We
Right.
gotta go back so people
So,
have more than one budget.
excuse me,
to
Mr.
vote.
President, this is not about the charter.
This
It is.
about-
No, it's not about how the people
Well,
voted to change the
Again,
charter.
Again, They have no teeth, they have
We
no
need to
power.
familiarize ourselves with the budget, that's all
So-
I'm asking.
Your husband
So,
left
John,
the
are you
budget
willing
committee
to
because
have
it has
a
no power.
workshop?
Here would be my counter to that. Because as revisions of the budget have come out, the administrator has provided them to all of us, right? So we have all had the opportunity to familiarize ourselves with the budget. And in my opinion, to follow good governance would be to follow the process and let the budget committee have a crack at it without us telling the budget committee mid-process, change this, change that. Like, their job is supposed to be to go through, they do the site visits, they meet with the department heads. The budget that comes back to us is the budget from the budget committee. Personally, I am not interested in holding Saturday morning meetings for the next 4 weeks for us to rehash the exact same thing that the budget committee is supposed to be doing.
But we still have a responsibility to know the budget.
Counselor Comito.
So I've given some thought, and I've heard, some grumblings, and my thought behind this process is, again, I want to go back to the personnel board, right? So the personnel board, we put in place to do a job. They do their job, they make their recommendations to us, and we move forward depending on what we think in our discussions. I think the budget committee is designed to go through each item, I'm sure as we will at some point, go through each line item as the budget committee. They've had their meetings, they've held their meetings, they've talked to department heads, and hearing some of these grumblings and concerns, I went and talked with the town administrator and asked him the process, basically because, hey, I'm new here, I want to learn what's the process, right? And I kind of agree with what John's saying and having a discussion with the administrator saying that let's not be counterproductive. And my understanding is, in the past, and I've watched a few budgets go down in the past, the budget committee works on something, and then the council sits here and changes everything the budget committee does. And then those numbers get changed again, then I go back and work on it. It's almost like we're not letting them do their job. The administrator tells me that there's plenty of time to have our little workshops. Once that budget is finalized, we sit in front of it, and then we go through it. I think going back and forth, and then putting a number in, and then, I come back and say, oh, no, we don't need a fire truck, we should take that out. I just think it's counterproductive,
Well, we might end up doing that at the end.
which is perfect at the end, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
But let them do their job, we take their numbers, and we start our series of meetings, and we go from the top to the bottom, and then we don't have to go back and forth. They did their job, they presented to us, now it's our turn to present, and not counterproductive.
If I may,
So that's my
Mr. President.
2 cents.
So, to echo what Councilor Comito was saying, there is a Budget Committee meeting tomorrow, which I will be attending. As you all know, per the charter, the Budget Committee must give us their recommendations by the 25th.
Friday.
So I do, and also, as your town administrator, this is my first budget season as well. So I think to kind of split the baby, I definitely think that we need to look, I met with the treasurer today, she's still working on revenue, and also we should have meetings that include the school department, your chiefs, your department heads, so that you can hear from them and the public can hear from them by transparency. I agree that, no one wants to be here on a Saturday morning at 9 a.m., but I definitely think it would be beneficial to not only myself, your department heads, and the council to start looking at scheduling workshops once we have the information from the Budget Committee, which I will have in my possession per the charter by the 25th, and I will share with all of you.
Madam Clerk, our next meeting in May, because we have from the 25th till the 13th.
So, the next meeting is May 13th. Oh, sorry, May 12th. On the 12th. And
13th is the adoption date, but yep. So between the 25th and the 13th, you'd have to have work sessions if you want that.
We don't have a meeting.
May 5th, no?
For budget hearings, so.
Oh, we have a council meeting on May 5th.
You do have April 28th is a Monday, as well as May 5th.
We're doing this meeting now because I will not be present on April 28th.
So with, if I may, while we're looking, with respect to the administrator's comments, I think this is also an example of how condensed we are making this process. I think if we would have had, and I wasn't here, so if the council would have had other meetings leading up till now, it would not feel so rushed at this point in time.
I do,
neither do I.
at least 2 meetings.
Mr. President, just a couple things. We get monthly updates from the treasurer, and I don't know about you guys, but I go through them. I go through damn near every line in that monthly budget that she gives us on what revenues come in, what percentage it's at, what budget lines are spent, to what extent they're spent. I look at that every month.
Yeah.
I mean, we get a monthly update. So the other issue I have though too is you guys, this says here you're being asked by their members to discuss, confirm various line items. Getting back to what Councilor Comito said, there's a chain of command. Right, our charter says that we have a budget committee. The budget committee chair is selected by that body. The budget committee chair answers to the administrator.
They're an elected official. No.
I mean,
But with the liaisons, they're at their, well, I haven't been going.
I understand that, but we also got an email recently from the administrator saying that he has been in regular contact with the budget committee chair and has been directing questions to various departments. So, I mean, to go rogue like this causes confusion.
It's not rogue.
It's not rogue.
David,
It's not rogue.
we are responsible for the tax rate, and we are responsible to the people. Yes, the budget committee recommends to us, but we should be well knowledgeable in it, know what the increases are for, and talk, especially talk with the school committee, because we need to discuss with them what their increase is about. It's not going rogue, it's we're responsible for this budget, not the budget committee.
All I'm saying is they're asking you guys questions. Have they talked to their chair?
When we go,
They're.
At the meetings,
At the
they're-
meetings, this is,
they're invited.
they're brand new. They don't even know what some of the line items are, so they're asking what's included in that. Why was it this amount last year and now it's this amount? It's either increased a lot or decreased. Are we taking things out? Are we moving things around? I mean, the budget's important. We can't just like push it through. The budget sets us up for our fiscal responsibility for the whole next year. And it sets the tax rate, and it's really important. It's how well we function fiscally.
When the tax rate goes up, they don't blame the budget committee, they blame us. And I think they should, because per charter, we are responsible.
I agree, but I also understand that our administrator and Mr. Toner, the head of the chair, have been in a lot of communication, going back and forth with a lot of these questions that you say aren't being answered. I believe they are being answered by our administrator.
Oh, we just want to schedule a meeting.
Let's just schedule meetings.
Okay.
And we need more.
Mr. President, I'd just like to say that I know I received 2 budget proposals from the town administrator over the last 2 weeks. I don't know about the rest of you,
Yes, we have.
but I look at them in detail and I go over them. So if you want to learn anything about the budget, just look at the last emails that came out the last 2 weeks.
We have, David, but we need to
Okay,
have.
so there's your answers.
And it doesn't let the public see that conversation. In fact, there is no conversation.
Right, there isn't any.
The budget committee meeting's not taped?
I'm not talking about the budget committee.
I'm talking us.
No? Okay.
I think somebody's implying here that the president has no intention whatsoever to have budget hearings. And I haven't gotten that from him.
But that's what we're waiting to hear.
Okay, well, the request could have simply been, you know, can we have some budget hearings? But it seems to be more than that.
So, Monday, May 5th, Monday, May 12th.
May 12th, yeah, is the regular meeting. I'll have to make that
Does that work?
Works for me.
Okay.
Both dates you're saying?
Yep.
at 7 on Monday, May 5th. Yes.
Yep.
All right.
How many people have to do budget hearings?
Next item. Chief Bailey, you have 2 in a row here. Discussion and possible vote to award contract for roof replacement at Fire Station 2.
So, the first one, I'm going to take the chief off the hook. This did go out to bid, but we're not prepared at this time to award the bid or the contract because we're waiting for the gaming revenue. So number H on your agenda is going to be a hold because that was just anticipation of when we have the gaming meeting, and more than likely it'll be after the budget process.
Okay.
So, but I has already been appropriated with gaming revenue, and that'll be up for your discussion in the chief's presentation.
All right, so we will continue H to the gaming meeting, whenever that shall be. All right. Chief Bailey, discussion and possible vote to award the contract for replacement of rakes, fascia, soffits, T1, 11, and gutters and downspouts at Station 3.
So we did the RFP. We had 7 bids that we received. We were allocated in the last capital gaming money appropriation meeting $57,000. 3 of those bids came in underneath that number. Based on my recommendation, when I looked at all 3 of the bids, I felt there was one contractor that met the RFP. He detailed everything out in terms of labor, materials, included a warranty, so it's my recommendation that we would award that to Majestic Roofing and Home Improvement.
Counselor?
Motion to award the contract for the roof replacement at, contract for replacement of rakes, fascia, soffits, T111, gutters, and downspouts at Station 3 to Majestic.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Is that
Okay.
not to exceed 57?
Consistent with the bid.
Consistent with the bid.
Discussion, Mr. Solicitor, have you reviewed the contract?
I have not.
Okay, can we amend subject to the solicitor's review of the contract?
So moved.
Okay. Any discussion, further discussion?
Yeah, so I
Counselor.
went by the station, and yeah, it is pretty rotted. There's just one part that I didn't agree with, is the gutter replacement. It's for like $3,800. The gutters on the building, to me, look like they're in great shape. They're aluminum. I don't understand why they need to be replaced unless there's putting something different up. Like, it can be removed and put back. I don't,
So a while back, last year I had a contractor come out to just give me a rough estimate before I went before the request of money, and it was their recommendation, since they were going to be taking down the siding, it would be the time and place to replace the gutters and downspouts, and I went with his recommendation when I went with the RFP.
I know the gutters aren't that old because I replaced them going back a few years ago, so it's up to you guys. I just wanted to put my 2 cents in.
Okay.
There is some downspouts that are missing in the back, but
Okay. All right. Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
So I just overheard, Solicitor, what, if we decided to take the gutters out, we'd have to rebid it? Is that what you were saying? Oh,
I
okay.
was talking about the lack of, there's no contract here, but we'll draft a contract
Oh,
for them to
okay.
have.
Subject to meeting all legal requirements.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Thank you very much.
All right. Next item, Mr. Administrator, discussion and possible vote to award contract for surplus vehicles. Fairly straightforward.
My recommendation is to award the bid for the surplus vehicles to East Bay Recycling in the amount of $7,500.
Do I have that as a motion?
second.
All right, motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Pay for the gutters.
Thank you.
There we go. All right, next item, Administrator Jones, update on USDA landfill closure grant.
So I've been told by the government, we have a meeting tomorrow, another Zoom meeting, and I want to thank the director and also Tim Thies from PAR Engineering, getting all the final components of what we need for the grant. From the USDA, we are 99.99% there. And this, just to update the council and for the record, is the $1.416 million for the closure of the landfill. So I'll be happy, and I'll let you all know, obviously, once we have that in our possession. So I'm hopeful that after tomorrow's meeting, it would just be a process of them transferring the funds into our possession.
Fantastic. Next item on the agenda, Councilor Perry, discussion and possible vote to form a Tiverton Water District Advisory Committee to gather information related to a future reorganization or merger of the town's two water districts. Councilor Perry.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to bring this back up, wanted to bring it back up rather early because I didn't want it to leave our minds. I think it's something that we wanted to do, from what I've heard from my councilors at the last meeting, is to form a committee and get more information. You know, that's all I heard, is that we needed more information, we needed more information. Well, in order to get more information, I figured maybe we should put a committee together and gather all this information that we needed so we could try to get these two organizations together and see what we could do.
Okay,
So I think this would be a good opportunity.
Before we have discussion, Mr. LaChapelle has been waiting, so.
I'm tired.
Name and address for the record, please.
Jeff LaChapelle. And that's why you guys have liaisons, and I agree with what you're saying. I'm just going to read what I wrote. So, planned advisory committee. Good evening, members of the Town Council, fellow residents, and representatives of the North Tiverton Fire District and Stonebridge Water District. I am pleased to bring to your attention a collaborative initiative designed to strengthen the inter-district coordination and advance our shared goals. The North Tiverton Fire District and Stonebridge Water District boards have received the draft advisory committee plan and will review it in detail at their upcoming meetings. This process allows for careful evaluation and any necessary refinements before a formal vote, ensuring that the committee's structure reflects the priorities and needs of both districts. Beyond the administration function, this committee represents a significant step toward proactive governance and strategic planning. By working together, we can streamline operations, enhance communication, and implement solutions, that benefit our community as a whole. This approach not only strengthens our town's infrastructure, but also fosters a spirit of collaboration that will serve us well in the years ahead. I look forward to working closely with both boards, our town council's liaisons, and all stakeholders to ensure the success of this initiative. Through transparency, cooperation, and shared commitment, we can achieve meaningful progress of our town's future. Thank you. Jeff LaChapelle.
Councilor Burke.
Do you guys have any questions?
So, Mr. LaChapelle, thank you. So what I hear you saying is that the two water authorities have agreed to put together a committee,
Yes.
which is certainly better under your purviews because you have the legal authority for the two water districts.
Correct.
And you are intending to include members from both districts as well as your two council liaisons.
Yes.
And the town administrator for that.
Correct.
I applaud you. I think that's the best approach to take. I don't think it's the council's role to push something on you. I think it's your job to put this together and come forward to your ratepayers, their ratepayers, and us with any recommendations that make sense, based on all the different challenges that I can't even fathom at this point. We've talked about some of them, about infrastructure capacity and the like. So I applaud you.
Thank you.
Do you have a,
I want to thank you personally also.
Yeah, I do.
Mr. LaChapelle.
Oh,
I want to thank you personally also.
I do have one follow-up question for you. So obviously, you're forming a committee. That's great news. Is there a timeline scheduled for when you guys are gonna, start meeting and then, come to a conclusion with findings?
First, we're gonna have both boards agree.
Okay.
On the
Well,
proposal.
I just wanted to make a
have
statement
you
on
already
that.
talked to Stonebridge?
I have, yep, and they agree, and they're on board.
And I do want to add, I think this is great. For decades now, it's been like the Hatfields and the McCoys, so.
I hear that a lot.
Building a bridge across the river is a good thing.
Right,
So,
so,
Counselor.
No, I just wanted to make sure that Stonebridge was 100%, and so it's
I talked to Tim Burns today.
awesome.
He
I
sent
looked-
that out to everyone on the board, they're gonna look it over, and
All
we're
right.
gonna put both boards together, ideas, vote on it, move forward, and have a committee.
Awesome. I think, working with North Tiverton, more so than, right now than the Stone Bridge, I think this is the exact path we need to take, have good discussion, see what direction we want to go down, and see where, our infrastructure is, see where we really need that water report to come back.
Yes.
And that's going to enlighten us on a lot of details, so I'm looking forward to working with everybody and hopefully come up with a nice solution for the whole town of Tiverton.
Yeah,
Not just North Tiverton, not just East Tiverton, the whole town of Tiverton. Thank you.
I appreciate you, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you, everybody.
thank you.
Ms. French, you had put down for public comment. Would you like to speak on this item? No?
No,
Okay.
she fell asleep.
Craig will drive you home.
So, Council,
To Craig Drive.
Councilor Perry, in light of this revelation?
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay, perfect. So in that case, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed executive session. Solicitor Marcello, Rhode Island General Law 42465A2 litigation, Highland Ridge Farm LLC v. Town of Tiverton et al., NC 2024-0310, update on court decision and potential further action. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilor Camino.
Yes.
Councilor Burke.
Yes.
Councilor Janik.
Yes.
Councilor DiMaggio.
Yes.
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 Councilor Perry. Yes. All right, we are now in closed executive session.